Thompson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome back to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast with our first episode of 2026. So Happy New Year to everyone who listens to us. Happy New Year to all of our Patreon subscribers and those who don't. But if you want to make it a really happy New Year, make sure you sign up. Will the boys come back fresh-faced with New Year's resolutions to be much more positive in 2026? Well, let's find out as we've got 3 games to look back over. And joining me was a man branded as Mr. Negative Kilroy-Sulk in 2025, as his slating of the manager Lee Grant literally had the head coach dancing in his face as Town turned a bit of a corner. And with Killer is a man who is under strict instruction to calm his skin this evening, as we want to do this episode in under 3 hours. It's the bear in the big blue and white house. It's Mr. Kosmala. How are we doing, boys?
I'm not saying anything.
I'll start off here with New Year, New Me, Matt. Obviously, we've got, I say we, as in me and Andy Kay, have got the Marcus Stewart cycle in June or July. I can't remember which month it is. From Ipswich back to Huddersfield. New Year, New Me. I've just come back from Wales. I'm at it today, Matt. Been out on my bike for the first time, having put into ChatGPT, how long does it take to get fit for 2 100-mile days back to back on a bike? I think it's an 80-mile ride after that. I can't remember what it is on the 3rd day. And it said 6 months. So it really shocked me into getting my stuff together. So I've got an 8-week session now. No beers, Matt. Only the finest vegan food and a bit of daily cycling to try and get ready for this bicycle ride. Because I still feel like I'm going to have to end up carrying Andy Kay across the line each and every day. So new year for me, new start.
You carrying Andy Kay whilst you're both wearing spandex is a thought for everybody, isn't it? Kosi, how we doing, old boy? You good?
Yeah, challenging time, mate. On and off the pitch, shall we say. But yeah, keeping smiling, man. Keeping warm and just honestly, I know I don't want to forget ahead of myself, but just I'm still wounded from yesterday, to be fair, mate. I was absolutely good with that. But anyway, I don't want to spoil your agenda, Matt, so just move on.
No, let's get going.
Right.
Let's get going. So, Right, 3 games to get through. We'll try and keep them as brief as possible and then talk about some points at the end. So, Northampton. Town made it 3 wins in a row against what you could describe as a stubborn Northampton outfit who were quite well drilled, well organised. Kosi, the first thing about the Northampton game, the annual video before the game of Town fans we've lost throughout the year, and it hits me every time. I know it hits you as well. This year, the faces on there. Last year, there were faces on there that were, had my family, members of my family in there. This year, faces that I've seen at games and casually met before, and briefly come into contact with. It's important that the club mark this, and it's some of the club's finer work as well, isn't it? Because it does mean a lot to people to have that video go up there before the game, and I think it's very poignant and very important to remember the Town fans that we've celebrated with and are no longer with us.
Totally, I'm going to take a bit of credit for this because it was me that suggested the idea to Sean Jarvis. I went to watch Burnley play. I don't know why I was there, but and they had a memorial game. They had no screen, but they were just reading people's names out who'd left the world, sadly, and a big round of applause and stuff. And I thought it was really poignant and just like, I just thought this is what a club should be doing and things. And obviously other clubs are kind of doing it now and that as well. So I suggested to Sean, and typical Sean Jarvis, like, said, don't worry, mate, it's all in hand. So sounds like that he'd had the idea as well. And yeah, I think obviously with that screen, I think it was extra striking this year, Matt. And sadly, there always seems to be a few people that we do know. I mean, it's always a great family as a town community, and I think if you don't know one of the supporters, you always seem to know. Obviously, some of the players and some of the staff. I mean, Jerry Murphy, I've got to keep forgetting about Jerry Murphy. It just feels like a while, but really good. God, if I'm going to have to moan, the only thing that disappointed me a little bit was the game started and there was still people's faces and names on there. I thought that was a bit disappointing, to be honest with you. I thought if you're going to plan that as a club, you should be making sure that when the kickoff comes, that we've seen everyone's name and face in there. If I'm having a minor gripe and that as well, so I thought it'd be disappointing we started, and I don't know about you, but I was still looking at that board, seeing who was
I was
on there. So, but no, it's a really good thing, and I know they do it at rugby and I go to as well, but everyone seems to do it. But I think it's so important, Matt, because you think these people have given so much to the club, and obviously so many people like siblings and people that they've brought down there through the years and stuff. So we've got to thank these guys, passing. It's always heartbreaking to see even the younger town fans as well. But it's always sad, but I always think it's just a fitting tribute and things as well. And it's one of those sobering moments. So well done, to again the club putting that on. And I just thought it a bit extra special this year with the screen as well. I thought it really that's the good thing with that screen. Doesn't it really? Even though they probably can get a bit more out of it, it does. It's very striking, obviously, and just seeing my mate Alan Gilliver. I sent the picture to his son, and he was absolutely overjoyed. I think he's a funeral this week, and he says it's another Huddersfield town. And honestly, on the Facebook must have been so many. But I just think it's just a little thing in it, but just a touch of class, and that's what my Huddersfield town and our Huddersfield town we like to see, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So well done to the club for continuing that tradition. We'll move on to the game. Lined up Killer in that 3-4-2-1 shape that I think me and you quite like, don't we? It's quite flexible, adaptable, a lot more so than the previous systems. We scored some great goals this season, haven't we, as well? But if Reginio Balca's overhead kick goes in the first half, that's right up there, isn't it, with him? It's lovely technique of the goalkeeper, who took some stick, didn't he, this game? I think some people said he looked really old, some people said he looked really fat, and he got all sorts of abuse. I felt put out because I thought they were talking about me. But basically, he's made a great save there onto the bar, hasn't he? And I thought Town were pretty good in this first half. I thought they, without excelling, I thought they controlled the game, and I think that's one of the criticisms I think we've had, haven't we, over the course of the season. It doesn't feel like Town control games or break teams down slowly. It feels like it's ice and fire, hell and thunder. It feels like it's all or nothing. But I thought Town were patient. I thought they were really, really good in possession, and slowly but surely ground down what was a really well organised Northampton team. But if that overhead kick had gone in, it'd have been a little bit special, wouldn't it?
It would have ended goal of the season, wouldn't it? Already, it'd have been done at that point had that gone in. But like I say, Matt, it did worrying for a little bit of criticism of the keeper. But I tell you what, he had a lot to do. He did have a lot to do. And my notes on that game are pretty much it was just a controlled routine win, which is, like you say, really strange for us this season. Teams that get promoted, they have to win home games pretty straightforwardly. You can't have, like you say, boom or bust every single game, which is what after this kind of did happen again. But you got to have wins that are routine throughout the course of the season. And it just felt, Matt, from kickoff to full time, it felt routine. I know it took a while for us to finally get ahead, but it didn't feel like the players were nervous. It didn't feel like the fans were nervous. For general clarity here, I was watching again on TV. Matt, one thing that does surprise me this season, and do you know what? Maybe you can clear this up. What are the rules when it comes to our games being on Sky Sports Plus, right? I was under the impression previously every game apart from a Saturday 3 p.m. or one that was cancelled and then rearranged would be on Sky Sports Plus. However, at the moment, sometimes I believe they're going to be on and then they're not on. And then I've got to go find them elsewhere. I don't understand exactly how it seems to have worked, because this is another one where it was a little bit of an issue trying to work it out for me to be able to follow the game.
It's it's to do with the blackout. I think Saturday 3 p.m. games are not included. And I think games like Easter are not included in that. Boxing Day are not included in that. So they're
Sunday wasn't either, Matt. Was it against? Because I wasn't actually
Yeah.
going to get down to the game against Lincoln, but last minute I realised it wasn't on TV, so I managed to get down in time for that one. But I did find that quite confusing. But no, Matt, the Northampton game, of all the games we've had so far this year, and especially in that first half, it was nice to see us. Okay, it's nicer to get an early goal and to run away with it, as we've done quite often recently, such as Port Vale and whatnot, and Rotherham. But it's nice for it not to happen, yet it still feel controlled. The atmosphere was still okay. It never felt like things were going to go poorly for us. And that's quite surprising, especially considering we hadn't. It wasn't that long ago we had a bit of a tougher task against Northampton. So it was a nice first 45 minutes, wasn't it? And it was topped off with a nice ending to the 45 minutes.
Yeah, just to add to the TV stuff, I think if both teams agree with Sky, some rearranged games can be shown. So I think that's why the Lincoln game could be shown as well for Town as well, because the Lincoln game was shown. Kosi, I thought Sorensen had a really good first half against Northampton. Some people disagreed, and that's fine. But his ball into Joe Lowe was fantastic, wasn't it? In on the old swinger on the left foot, and it was what Town deserved. And Joe Lowe gets the goal, and you know, it's just typical, isn't it? He's coming for some stick on this podcast as Joe Lowe. I think sometimes maybe we've been a bit harsh. Sometimes I think it's been correct. But he had just started playing quite well in this new shape, this back three system. So it's just Huddersfield Town's injury curse luck or lack of luck that just as he starts looking like he's going to be a really useful defender, he goes off at half-time injured, and we haven't seen him since. It's just typical of Town's last couple of years, isn't it?
Oh man, it's just like watching a DVD, isn't it? The last few seasons. What a ball from Sorensen! I sat honestly. I sat in so many different stats. I don't know. I'm trying to think where were I last Monday for Northampton, but it was an absolute peach, wasn't it? I mean, I'd like to think those three could have got his head on. He was just begging to be, put in. And reminded me, obviously, last season Sorensen, when he started the season, burst onto the scene and he was assisting left, right, and centre. With great crosses and things like that as well, but. Yeah, Lowe, just totally frustrating. And I think, obviously, when someone's taken off at half time, as well as it was playing, I think we all feared the worst. And I think no one expected to see him at Lincoln. And obviously, we didn't see him, spoiler alert, but yeah, we didn't see him yesterday either as well. But just honestly, I think we're ever going to be getting off this injury curse. And it's a position.
It's getting a little bit better.
It is, but you just again, I don't want to jump ahead, but I just wonder how fit Feeney was yesterday, to be honest with you. But we'll come on obviously to that later. But yeah, gutting, but obviously flashing it back to last Monday. Fantastic goal, and how many has he got now? He got a few, didn't he? Got one early on.
Joe Lowe, is that
Reading?
I think it's two. He scored on the first game. He scored in the first
against
game.
Orange.
It was nice though. No, it was nice. It was nice, that goal, especially, right? Because we've complained, Matt, at times that there's moments in games where we've not left a big man up top for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And whilst it wasn't sending somebody up in the 80th minute to win the game to chase it down, there is a slight difference in approach there to leave Joe Lowe there for Sorensen to cut back inside and find him at the back post. That's a design play. That's a design play that, Matt, again, jumping to your agenda a little bit, there's a little bit of growth there, because I don't think that happens early on in the season. I think that's something that's new that you can do when you have this flexible back three / back four, depending on who we're playing and how we want the half to go. But no, it was a nice goal, Matt. It was a nice goal and good signs because of, like I said, the extra man, the extra big man up top. It's just a shame, like you say, he's got the Town curse and they didn't last much longer.
I'm going to come back to that at the end about the leaving a big man up. So second half, I'm going to moan about the referee in all three games here, and I just thought the referee was really poor in this game. I thought it was weak. The number 23, what annoyed me is the number 23 scythed through a Town player 3 times, and he only got booked on the last one. He should not have been on the pitch when he did the last one, but I'm not going to complain too loudly on that one. I thought Northampton were quite cynical. I don't blame them for the way they do it. It's pretty standard stuff these days to go away from home and be a little bit darky arts. I just get a bit frustrated when a referee just lets them run the game rather than he does it, and I thought he was a little bit slack on that. But we'll move on because Town didn't really let it affect them too much. Kosi, Alfie May has a really good chance. Ruben Ruskin puts the ball over, does it in Alfie May, blazes it over the top, and then he returns. Well, not quite returns the favour to Ruskin, but he does the same for Bojan Radulovic, and he skies one as well, doesn't he? Which is probably a little bit harder to take. It's just slightly behind him. But I think what was quite promising from this is Town didn't sit on a 1-0. They kept moving forward, but they picked the right moments to attack as well. They didn't overcommit at any point. And it feels like they've learned little things from games gone by where they don't overcommit and then they don't undercommit because they get done on a counter, etc. And it felt like they just got the balance really right in this game for me. And those two chances, if one of those goes in, because it's an easy night's work, you shut everything down after that, don't you? Take some players off and rest them for Lincoln. But I just thought the chance creation and the pass detailing, shall we say, was pretty good in this game. I came away from this game quite buoyed by this, even though it's like Killer says, it's a regulation win. It's a no frills 2-0. But I just came away quite pleased with how Town played, and part of that was how we handled that second half against Northampton, who slowly started coming out of the shell in that game. And then we were bright enough to understand when Northampton were doing this and then pick them off on the counter. And that kind of led to the goal as well, where Dion Charles does brilliantly to close down, and then he turns back in, doesn't he? And it's really smart centre forward players that, and he lays it on for Bojan Radulovic to make it 2-0, and we can all go home happy. But I thought Town were good in this second half. I thought they were. I just thought that they just handled it really well, and I just thought we were compact when we needed to be. Passed really well when we needed to be, and I just thought the timing of everything they just got spot on, and I just thought this was a good performance overall. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. It's not often you can say we've been in control of games, especially at home this season, and I've just thought, the only thing obviously nagging down being a Town fan is just the misses, obviously from May and Radulovic, where they're going to come and bite us, and there was I don't know if you've not mentioned it, but Balker's tackle. I've got to mention Balker's tackle. Fine tackle it is, and that was one of those out in the mouth moments, because you're just thinking, if that's kind of 1-1 typical, but then obviously we go down the other end. And Dion Charles, it was a great goal, mate, because when he got the ball, obviously nothing on, but can't say pace, power, strength, and awareness. Really, obviously just waiting for the the runner to come, and Bojan put it in, and. Yeah, you can say it was an easy goal, but credit to Bojan after, he didn't let his edge up after the miss, and I think that just proved what we've been saying for a few weeks on the podcast, that he just seems to be a confidence man. So, honestly, Matt, I thought, I didn't really I was cricketing when we beat Leyton Orient, so you guys probably judge it better than me, but for me, that was one of the best performances of the season against limited opposition, I get, but I just felt we were fully in control, played some nice stuff, and a good win, mate. So I kind of came away... So last Monday, all the days are all weird, aren't they? But last Monday, thinking, that's like a step forward for me for Huddersfield Town.
Yeah, definitely. And Killer, like we said, I think a lot of people were denigrating the quality of the opposition a little bit, and I understand that. People sort of saying, "Oh, we've only beaten Rotherham, Port Vale, and then Northampton," and I get that. Town have been labelled by us as well at times as flat track bullies, haven't they, throughout the season, who do quite well against teams at the bottom. But I think the manner of the way which Town dealt with Northampton was impressive. I mean, Northampton went and did the same thing to Bolton the other day and got a 0-0. That's obviously what they come for to us, and they've got it against Bolton. But I just thought we were smart enough, really smart. And I know it wasn't sexy, and I know it wasn't free-flowing at times, but I just thought Town were just really smart in this game. And I think Kosi's right. I think Port Vale was probably the best performance of the home, the game against Port Vale was probably the best performance of the season. But this, I thought, was the smartest in many ways, and I just thought Town just picked their moments really well. And I think, as we saw with Exeter yesterday, I think there's a lot of teams that have come and we've kind of struggled with what we've seen in front of us, or we've gone all out for a while, or we've struggled for like long periods of the game. And for me, without labouring the point too much, it was just a really smart performance, and one we can say there's progress there, I think.
Absolutely. But I do think that doesn't happen unless you've won a few before it. I liken it to players that score goals. You keep playing them, they get more confidence. If they have a miss like Bojan did, then the next time he still has that confidence to put it away. And now Town haven't had these wins this season that have been comfortable and controlled. As you mentioned about Port Vale, best performance of the year. That and Leyton Orient probably, but I think it's easier first game of the season than it is when we beat Port Vale. But when you score early doors, it changes the dynamic of the game, and that changes everything. So for me, I'm kind of with Kosi in that. I think the Northampton performance had the most positive aspects of our home results this season for me. I'm with you on that, Kosi. It's just, again, this is what happens when you've won a few games. I feel like the players are more relaxed, the fans are more relaxed, and it does help on the field. And that's the epitome of it was a Northampton game, like you say, Matt, where it's not flash, it's not the most beautiful. And like you say, people do say, well, it's only, they came to shut up shop. They did, but you have to go about your business your way to try and break them down. And we did it over time. You're right, Matt. It was a smart performance. The only problem with it was the reason why I don't think he got the excitement that maybe the performance or result deserved, or the manner of the result deserved, because again, we all knew we were very much in a holding pattern until Lincoln. But that's what it was all about. If Lee Grant didn't lose his job against Wigan, we knew the fixtures were going to be easier. And now the thing is, in those fixtures, you can only really lose, because even when you win, people say, well, you should have won. And that Northampton was the last kind of batch of those performances, I think, for Town fans. So whilst, yes, the win was good and the Port Vale win was great, everyone was still kind of looking at Lincoln, Matt, weren't they, to see where Town actually were. They were little, like you say, we can talk about Joe Lowe's goal and a few little formation shifts, and not even formation shifts, but how we pressed was a little bit different. We finally went with May and Bojan for starters, which has changed a lot of the way Town play football now. But the main litmus, the litmus test was always going to be Lincoln. And I do think everyone's focus kind of shifted towards that from fan perspectives. It was just kind of good that the team managed to focus on these games that they had to win to keep us in contention with the top of the table. And fortunately, do you know what, Matt? That's not fair. It's not fortunately. We deserved to win those games, and we went into the Lincoln game then on the back of a decent bit of form, and that's where we could really see where we were at.
Yeah, and praise to Bojan Radulovic as well, because he's averaging a goal or assist every 75 minutes. At this point, anyway, he was averaging a goal or assist every 75 minutes, which is quite phenomenal when you look at where he was before he came into the team during this run, or before this season. So well done to Bojan, and him and Radinho Balca's little interview they did at the side of the pitch was really, really good as well. A bit of a bromance going on, and it's good to see they both seem quite happy at Huddersfield, and I don't think that's been the case as it in the past. So that was good to see. So we'll break this up slightly, boys. Worst Christmas present that you get? What is one Christmas present you boys get, and you just think, what the hell is this? Because every year, ever since I was a kid, I always end up getting one of those. They're like water-based games where you kind of like move it, and you have to get like a hoop on a sticky out stick or something, or a ring on. It's like a ring toss kind of game, and you move it around in the water thing, or an underwater, like the little compact things, or like a pinball type thing. I always get those, and every now and then I always think, what a waste of plastic this is. Those are my least favourite. I've actually started quite liking socks these days for Christmas, which would have been younger Matt's mistletoe. Would have been the bit which would have brown the mistletoe, so to speak. But for me, it's those terrible bits of plastic. Killer, you look like you've got something, or the missus.
Do you know what? I'm gonna say socks, right? Because I wear football socks all the time. I don't know why. Do you know, like, I think it must be from like being a kid starting to play football. I always took my football boots everywhere just in case somebody said, "Oh, do you want to have a game?" Right? And I've always wore football socks, so I always wear football socks even now. So if I ever get socks for Christmas, it's just a waste of time. However, this year, Matt, I've got a one-off gift that might end up being the worst gift I've ever got. Now, obviously, we rescue animals, right? This year, I've been given or gifted a beehive, right? Which I think is going to quickly become the worst present ever. Because this year we had a hive in the garden somewhere, a nest. And the kids were getting stung on a daily basis. Every time the ball went into the bush, it was risking life and death just to be able to go and get it back out. And now I've actually got my own beehive to try and look after this year. So it's a mixture, Mark, between socks, because I don't wear them unless they're football socks, or this year's beehive.
Surely you need the full beehive equipment.
I've got the full kit, Matt. I have full kit wanker.
Oh, full kit beehive wanker, yeah.
Once I sort it out at Easter, I think the weather's got to warm up a little bit before I get it set up in the garden. And I'm going to trim a few bushes to try and make a bit of space somewhere far enough away from the football field in the garden. But honestly, I've got the full kit. I've got the smoker. I have got the lot. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe that can be an update from Easter onwards for the podcast.
Yeah, we might have to have a look into that. Kosi, speaking of trimming some bushes, what's your least favourite Christmas gift that you tend to get?
It's a tough one, this, Matt. I've lost my mum, bless her. She's listening to us from above. But Yeah, I won't knock any links to Africa, mate. It always comes down, especially obviously being a big gym man and that. But yeah, a lot of times I used to get some books, Matt, and I think sometimes my parents would see me because you'd chat a lot of shit like you do when you come around to your mum and dad's and I'm reading this book and that book. So in there I'd think, oh, Richard likes books at the moment. So I've had some books where I've not touched them. This is bad. Tyson Fury's autobiography's one. Sorry, Tyson, if you're watching, mate, but never looked at that. And I think, there was a Gary Neville book as well. I don't think it wasn't an autobiography, but just some kind of about management. And I'm thinking I'm not interested in that. So,
hey, Kosi, what's the last book you've read? What's the last book you've read, Kosi?
Oh, last book I read. Let me just think what.
Spot the dog when he was 6.
Biff, Chip, and Kipper.
No.
Yeah.
I just trying to finish it. It would have spotted, but you have to move on. But I'll remember it for when we interrupt you for the Lincoln game.
I mean, me and Killer read kids' stories, don't we, to our kids? But I've had this on my desk for about 5 years, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and I've literally it's been under the desk for 5 years. I've not read it.
I've got it, Killer, now. Sorry, yeah, it was just a random book. I've went into Waterstones, other sports in the local bookstores, and this is basically this guy, a bit similar to me, just goes to watch European games or kind of world games. He'll just book a flight and just go somewhere, and so it's really good. You're getting so we were talking about. He'd done the the Lisbon Derby. He's done Lazio Rome. He's done some other niche ones as well. So it's just good to get because he kind of talks of it through he would arrive there, and then we get to some bars and stuff. So it's not just you get a bit about the game, but it's all about the cage. And it's just random fan mate that just wrote a book and that as well. I think it's called Derby Days or something like that as well. But and to be fair, Celtic and Rangers were mentioned in there, but that was probably one of the most the boring kind of write-ups that he's had and that as well. But I think I'm on the chapter with Argentina next, so obviously the River and Boca and stuff. But to be fair though, you read that, you think maybe I should be up in my game from going to Germany, Spain and Portugal. But no, it just whets the appetite. But I do like kind of them books, and then books to kind of not sport related, really, just kind of positive. The one of the best books I ever read was the Balbabe book. I forgot what her name is now, bless her. She passed away with bowel cancer. She were on TV, but it was unbelievable, inspirational book that, and she knew obviously we're going to pass away. But so I can, a bit like my music taste, I can go swing a lot of different genres with my books and stuff as well. But majority of them are sport. But Tyson Fury, Gary Neville, sorry mate, I will not be reading your books. I did read Claudio Ranieri's autobiography, that was a good one, mate. But anyway, I'm talking about stuff I like now. And
come on, you dosser, you big dosser, you big crayon.
It's coming back in it now, apparently. But someone showed me a picture and. Not that I'd say to his face.
Never mind that. The other is back today, Matt. Celtic have brought him back in, haven't they? He's back, you mate. Big man. He's back. You got another.
I can't believe it.
He's back in it. They're unbelievable. Yeah. Lincoln away, Matt. I'm going to butt in because you're going to bring me in anyway. But Lincoln, right? The only time I ever went there was the playoff match, and you just get bussed in, and it's really weird the ground, isn't it? Because it's kind of bit out of the city. Well, it's kind of a little water city, but you could easily not know this the city if you just get off the coach and go at the ground and get on the coach again. But obviously I don't drink now. So when I got there, Mr. Wayne kindly gave me a lift there. So he went to the fan zone behind the goal and I waxed lyrical about it. I've seen his tweets. Apparently it was really, really good. So praise for Lincoln for that. But honestly, I'm a sucker for the cathedrals, mate, or churches and things. But Lincoln Cathedral was unbelievable. It reminded me of going to Lisbon because it's so high. It's really steep as the city, and it was just stunning. And then you get out there, and it's almost like an old town, and beautiful bars and
nice,
they went to Haworth then a couple of days after. Proper going architecture and stuff now, and it was ace. And I bumped into a couple of town fans who went and actually stopped the night for New Year's Eve, made a kind of a day, and they said it was absolutely fantastic. And honestly, I put a tweet out about it, and I think it just shows it on X. It shocks people when you're nice about other cities.
Nice place, Lincoln. It's a lovely place.
It was absolutely stunning. Honestly, I'd recommend it for kind of a day out or even kind of a night out and stuff as well. But it was great. I get obviously coming out in the ground's a little bit different, but honestly, it is absolutely fantastic. It reminded me a little bit of York, and then when I was driving out, I was speaking to Louis on Radio Leeds, and he said, "What do you think of Lincoln?" I think he expected me to say, "Oh, flat back or whatever," but I said, "Look, I can see the cathedral lit up on the way out, and it looked absolutely sensational." And in a time where everyone's like, this is a shithole, this is that and the other. So I says when I come into the ground, Sister Neil says, if they're going to sing Lincoln's a shithole, I ain't joining in because it were absolutely fantastic place. So, yeah, that's the Lincoln Tourist Board. If you want to send me, I'll send you the bank details and yeah, just slip me some.
I think people are still reeling from you saying Waterstones is a local bookshop, but we'll move.
No, they got one in Huddersfield. That's what I meant. Don't go to Amazon. Don't Amazon destroys them, man. Support Waterstones.
We'll move on. Yeah, so Lincoln, like Killer said, this was the acid test. This was the acid test. So could we turn it on against a side in the top 10 to show everyone that we're not just flat track bullies like we've mentioned, but we're a top side ourselves who can hang with the other top sides? I don't really think we got an answer to this, but I want to caveat some stuff because I thought the referee was really poor in this game. I don't want to moan too much about referees, but I am going to say the referee was crap in all 3 games, both ways at times. Lincoln absolutely battered us first half. They battered us, and we really struggled to stand up to them. They were bigger than us, stronger than us, but most importantly, they bullied us. And I think what was frustrating was it just felt like the referee let them get away with too much. I think there's a line. And I think Lincoln went way across the line, or they were allowed to go across the line. And you know what? If you're Lincoln City, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take advantage and do that? But I just thought the referee was a little bit weak. But I don't really want to take it away from them being a really good side as well, because I think both ways. I thought they were very good, but I thought the amount of murder Freddie Draper got away with during that game was unbelievable. Within a few minutes, he'd pushed Sean Rowan in the back and got away with it. Then he'd smashed someone else. And do you know what? And all the way through, I was thinking, he's an absolute pain in the backside, him. Maybe we should sign him next from Lincoln if they let us, because he was just such a menace. And Lincoln fans, if any Lincoln fans will be listening, they'll be frothing at Huddersfield signing another player. Although we do tend to spend money on Lincoln players and they go replace them with a better player who's older for free. So maybe we'll be doing you a favour. But yeah, so I thought they were a little bit of a throwback to the Keith Alexander sides from 20 years ago. They play a little bit better football than the Keith Alexander sides. They're not up and under like they were, but they play quick, they play hard, they run hard. And I think what's really important to notice about Lincoln is it's a very narrow pitch, Killer, as well. So long throw-ins, crosses, they cause you more problems. And against a big side, it is very difficult. And I can see why Lincoln have got this really good home record. They've lost once this season, which is against Exeter City. So we'll maybe mention that a bit later on. Exeter went to Lincoln and won 1-0 in the 94th minute on the break. So I think Exeter City will deserve a bit more credit than what they've been getting recently from town fans as well. But I thought Lincoln were excellent, Killer, in that first half. I just thought they battered us, they bullied us. It was like wave after wave. I thought Sean Rowan was really poor in that one. He really struggled as a left centre-back, basically due to the physicality. And I just felt like at that moment we probably missed your Jack Watmos, your Joe Lowe's, those players. But Murray Wallace stood up to it almost single-handedly, and I thought he was excellent at the back, big Muzzer. And he's been a really good shining light during this Christmas and New Year period. We did say, Killer, didn't we, that if he got a run of games, we felt like he might go on to be pretty decent. And not Matt Stradamus or anything, but it just sometimes happens with footballers, doesn't it? It's quite an easy call to make, and he's doing really well. But that first half, Killer, Rico Hackett missed a couple. Lee Nichols makes a brilliant save from Freddie Draper. I think Lee Nichols has come out of this period with a big amount of credit as well. Rodinho Balca played pretty well, but Town really struggled. I struggled with the decision to play Sorensen as a left wing back. I didn't quite understand that one. What Grant giveth, he taketh away, if you like. But that first half, I think you have to give Town some credit for clinging on as well, Killer, in that one.
You do. In fact, Matt, I don't think you do. I think realistically, on another day, we're 2-3-0 down at half time, regardless of changing. Sorry. But no, I think you're wrong. I just think we got absolutely battered. But I'm with you. What really pissed me off about it was that I felt, as you feel there, to be fair, Matt, that Lincoln play football in the way I'd like. If I was coaching a team in League One, I'd play that style of football. In these months, especially when the ground's heavier, that wins you games. It's so well drilled. They're defensively at it. They're blocking everything. They're playing every aspect of their game is awful to defend against for the other team. You make it really uncomfortable. And there's no surprise, Matt, they are where they are in the table. If they lose a couple of players through injury, they will struggle because, again, with the budget that they've got, this is what they have to do. I was really impressed with them. And I think realistically, they did deserve to be a couple of goals up in that first half. Hackett, if he was, like you say, a little bit more clinical, they would have been. And I don't feel like we can celebrate Town holding on, because I don't think it wasn't like they had all the possession, but we restricted their chances. I think their chances were good enough to be put away. And it's just fortunate that didn't happen. But Matt, I'm with you. I think they crossed the line a lot. I think if the referee gets a grip of that game early doors and stops the awful, just niggly stuff. It was, again, like you say, Matt, just
so many shoves in the back, weren't there?
Yeah, and if you get on
every
that
time the ball went forward, it was a shove 2 seconds before the.
And we're never going to. We are not a team if Sorensen's playing, especially. But even without Sorensen, other than Muzza, nobody else is really built to combat that. Who was available on that day, right? It's just not us. So that's not us. And if a team's going to throw that physicality at us, like you say, on a small pitch away from home, and they're going to cross the line and the referee doesn't pull up on it, I don't think we have a chance anyway. So I'm not going to. It really frustrated me because I was sat there at half time in the game, especially thinking, okay, they've battered us, but I don't feel like it's a fair reflection of how we could have done if it wasn't over the line for me, if that makes any sense. We weren't good enough, but I feel like there was no way we could be good enough because of how the game was being played or allowed to be played. Like you say, Matt, Draper was basically assaulting people left, right and centre. And it's fine. I've got no problem with them doing that because, again... Did
you quite like him, though, despite him kicking the crap out of all of us? I quite liked him, mate.
That's what you have to be like, though. Again, heavier pitches this time of year. This is what football in League One and League Two, and the lower you go, the more it's like earlier on in the year. This is what happens at certain times in the year, and you have to be able to adapt to it. But when Lincoln are built to play that way and we're not, it was always going to be a tough ask anyway. But that first half was awful. I just don't feel like you could read too much into it because we're not right for Lincoln. I think our season isn't going to be dictated by how we go against Lincoln. Okay, we need to beat good teams at some point. Lincoln, for me, are the worst possible side for us to play on that day, on that pitch, with that referee. That's how I felt looking at that first 45 minutes. Sure. But we were lucky to be in it.
Speaking of Christmas films, Killer, they're all wrong for us, Rock. You know, it reminds me of Rocky, when Mickey's saying, they're all wrong for you. He's all wrong for you. And they are all wrong for us, aren't they? They're incredibly tough. Kosi, you were in the away end for this one, obviously, after celebrating the delights of Lincoln City Centre. What were it like in the crowd? Was it like, because obviously I watched it on the Red Button, Killers watched it in Wales, possibly still. You were in the crowd. How did it feel in the crowd? Because I felt that they were being allowed too much leeway by the officials. Did it feel that way in the crowd as well, or did you just feel like Town just couldn't stand up to them? Because they are very strong, aren't they?
Bit of both, mate. I think the crowd were warming to the effort of the commitment of the defending. I couldn't disagree with anything Killer said there, to be honest with you. I thought it was more luck than anything that we weren't a few goals down. But you know what, there were bodies on the line, which I don't think we've seen that much this season. And the crowd can get behind that. So there was kind of a warmth, and obviously seeing some of the pushing and shoving. So there was a kind of a bit of a kind of a togetherness, which we don't often see watching the sort of time when there's so many away and that as well. So I kind of felt everyone was tuned in to know it was a tough game. We were up against it. The referee, obviously Nichols made a good save in the first half as well, and like did a bit of a fist pump, and everyone's like, so I think it was just one of those, wasn't it, when you just think get to half time and hopefully we can kind of do something different. And but the weirdest thing about because obviously right at the other end was the Ledson header. I thought, oh my days, it was cleared off the line. It was nowhere near it. It was nowhere near the line, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
It will go wide. I think go wide.
I can understand why the guy kind of moved it away, but honestly, it felt like we won the lottery at half time when it was 0-0. But you know what, Matt? I'd say the crowd was, a round of applause and just appreciative of that. We were playing, the poem was a top team or whatever as well. But again, there's the usual thing, Matt, that I never look at because I don't gamble now, so I don't need to know who's to cash out and this, that, and the other. But everyone else I was speaking to loved looking at their phone and, I can't believe it, everyone's losing. So trouble is that it gets in your head thinking, do we need to win and stuff? But obviously you do your own business, but this is the problem, League One fans. Just don't forget it. And it does annoy me with our scoreboard as well that I mentioned the other week, but we don't want to see the scores sailing on there every 2 minutes. No, put them on after 15 or 30, but it just adds pressure, I think, and just like a bit of anxiety to the
You'd
crowd.
look on your phone if they weren't there. You
would do, but
I
there's just all this, Bradford are losing on this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter. It's about our business, mate. Brian Orton said, what we do, that counts. But yeah, anyway, going back, mate, as usual, I've gone off in a tangent. Yeah, first half, just applause, mate, and the effort, and yeah, realising we'd had a bit of fortune, but hoping for better times in the second half.
Yeah, and we got that. Like I say, Town got a bit of a battering and held on. Like I said, it's as much down to Nichols and profligate finishing. I mean, Rico Hackett missed 2 chances, didn't he? Should have put away. But Town did improve second half, and by the time we went into the lead, I thought we were pretty much as good as them in the game. I thought I think what we needed to do in that first half was slow the game down, and our game management wasn't particularly very good in that first half. And I think that's
Sean Rowan was shocking. I think he still thought he played for Lincoln, Matt. How many times he gave the ball to Lincoln? It was unbelievable.
It was bad.
I think the nerves and everything, I think got to him just where he was at, and he had an absolute shock.
It's just physicality, mate. He's what is he, 5'9", 5'10"? Yeah, he's not tiny. He's probably quite big compared to us. But against someone like Freddie Draper, who's what 6'2", 6'3" or something, he's just a different story, isn't it? And so he physically he did struggle. But second half, I thought Town gave as good as they got, and I think we managed the game a lot better. And I think you maybe have to give some credit to the manager, Lee Grant, in this one, because we did come out after half time. I think there's many games this season where we've come out after half time and looked worse, far worse than what we saw in the first half, but this wasn't one of them. He came out, and I thought it was a really smart ball by Harness into Alfie May, and Alfie May does that little chop, and he misses the first one, which isn't the greatest finish, but I think what you get with a 32-year-old striker is you just get that composure, and he composes himself enough just to pop it over onto Castledine's head, and you've got to give a lot of credit to Alfie May and Harness, 2 more experienced players there for that goal. And all of a sudden, it's limbs o'clock, Kosi in the away end. And
they were brilliant, mate. It was one of those beautiful moments. And I tell you what, Marcus Harness, and we'll come on to him yesterday because they obviously scored. Another spoiler alert if you didn't watch the game. But Marcus Harness has been absolutely fantastic, Matt. And when he's not played, we've so missed him. And in a central position, mate, honestly, he can do stuff that no one else can do in there. And his range of passing is absolutely fantastic. I can totally get why the Ipswich fans raved about him, mate. And I just couldn't see that for like 2-3 months. We'd have thought this guy, I'm not saying a fraud, that's a bit too harsh, but I just didn't see what all the fuss was about. And I remember when we signed him, and you always go and look at opposition comments.
He had no one to pass to. There was no one in front of him to pass to. That was the problem.
Honestly, Matt, his range of passing and his kind of skill set is really, really good. But the goal were brilliant. And this is what I love about when you go to the match, because you don't normally get this much. You kind of have a shot and you're thinking, is this going in, or is it going to be there? The funny thing is, literally, I watched the replay last night. I thought Alfie made the post the first time, but he didn't. No. The keeper saved it, and this is breaking news tonight. Watching the game back, but it was just the most beautiful moment because you knew when the ball came to Castledine's, he couldn't miss. So you were just ready to go absolutely mental, and that away end is. It nearly collapsed that stand, but it were brilliant. And for the first time again in a while, we had people kind of diving over, grabbing players kind of grabbing fans. That togetherness that we've craved and that as well, it were there. But honestly, Leo Castledine, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Why is he there? He just gambles, doesn't he?
He's had a quiet Christmas, hasn't he? A quiet Christmas and New Year, where he's been a little bit leggy, shall we say. I think he's looked a little bit tired, but even when he is, he can still pop up in areas to hurt teams, and I think that's why you have to keep him on. And
Alfie May were brilliant, mate. And Joel Granger put a cut of that video of the celebration, and Alfie May just like losing it. And isn't it nice to see that, Matt? This is someone who's 30, was he 2, 3 or whatever? He's done a lot in the career, but he still gets buzzers of creating something like that, where another striker, a young striker, you see that in the Premier League, they'd be like, I didn't score it, so I'm not going to I'll walk over to him and shake his hand or whatever. But Alfie May was buzzing as he would be if he'd scored himself. And I thought there were 1 or 2 good signs of that team spirit. But honestly, you're dreaming big there, Matt, because obviously, like I mentioned there, we knew the scores were in our favour. Well, is this the kind of the watershed win, the statement win? But you knew obviously they weren't going to go down. And to be fair, it felt we like mugged them at that point. I'm thinking, Jesus, I know we've been better second half, Matt, but how the hell we ended up being in front, and you're just thinking, can we hang on?
Do you know, they had a wobble for 5 minutes. The game was there for us, and they had a wobble. They were really wobbling, and Town were good. Town for the first time in the game went at Lincoln with pace. Castledine's was good for this 5 minute period. Alfie May was brilliant. Bojan was good. He'd been it struggled, I think, during the game, Bojan, because of the physicality. Although he'd given as good as he got, to be fair to him, but I don't think he could win quite as much as possible because he had Sonny Bradley and then another coming over the top of him all the time. And Sonny Bradley's he's excellent, isn't he? At this level, he does what it says on the tin, heads it and kicks it. But for 5 minutes we have it, and the chance presents itself, and it's a really good ball into Alfie May. He chests it down, killer, and maybe if he volleys it with his left foot, it's a different story. But
keeper,
I want to give credit to the keeper because he comes out like lightning and he blocks it. It's a great save. But do you think Alfie May maybe looks at that and goes, "What if?"
Yeah, he was poor control, Matt. He controlled it, and the ball sat up. It's poor. And again, it's a split second. It's a tiny moment. It's not like a massive error, but that's the difference sometimes between 3 points and 1 point. I think if Alfie May scores there, and he should have done, realistically, any striker should have scored from that point. It's just a shame it didn't. But you're 2-0 up at that point, and you comfortably see the game out. But that's what it takes at the top of any division. That's the difference between winning and drawing, or not winning. Quite often, unfortunately, he just sat up too much. Like I said, keeper's out quick. He did really, really well, but for my money, he shouldn't have had a chance of saving that. It should have been 2-0.
Killer, I thought like you on the day. Well. I thought exactly like you on the day, but on the replay, I totally changed my mind on it. I thought we were bad. I remember Dom Alson tweeting saying, "Oh, he's got to score. That's the kind of sliding doors moment they're given," and it obviously is. But I thought the keeper was superb. The keeper just made his decision like, I'm coming out, and I thought he did as well as he could with the control, to be honest with you. But obviously we see it different. It's
a split second. He bounces about a foot high, and it doesn't look like much. But again, this is professional football, and at this level, that is the difference sometimes. Again, I was at home watching it, so I think if you get different angles, you can see it quite differently. But just from the TV angle, I thought.
I think with a replay, it's probably easy to be critical. I think on that one because it does happen very quickly. I'm not gonna. I put this down as a good save rather than a miss, to be honest. But
he did the old Michael, didn't he? With arms out, like
it was brilliant. It was a brilliant save. It was out like lightning.
That was a moment, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's where it goes. And do you know what? I think Lincoln showed why they're a really top team in this league because they wobbled and they recovered really well, and it only took them 5 minutes to recover. It takes us 30, 40 minutes. Sometimes we don't recover in games, and it took Lincoln 5 minutes, and I think that's why they'll be up there at the end of the season in the top 2, 3, 4.
I said at half time, he says Lincoln will scramble a goal in. He said Lincoln will scramble a goal in. And it did.
The goal made me froth, and this is why I'm really annoyed with the referee, because seconds before they get the corner, a long ball goes forward, and Freddie Draper backs into Rowan, and he backs him 5-6 yards. And it's a foul on Rowan by Draper backing in, and he gives it the other way, and it is the most ridiculous foul that is given. And to be honest, the ball goes in, it goes out for a corner, and this goal from the corner. Look, you can say Town should deal with the corner or should deal with a free kick, and that's fine. It's a valid argument. But it's just the pressure that we're under because they're allowed to kick themselves back in, or physically exert themselves, I'll say, back into the game. And it's just that frustration there whereby I know it's not a championship game, but if it was, it's refereed differently. And I always think the game should be refereed the same throughout. And there'll be times where we do this as well, and I'll probably say nothing, so it'll probably be hypocritical. But I was frustrated with that decision, and I think the players were frustrated by that decision. And then the ball goes out for a corner, and Town should deal with it better. They should. Adam Reach scores. I thought Adam Reach was brilliant in this game. I thought it was a complete pain in the arse the whole way through. And Lincoln have got, what, 400 grand or something for Sean Rowan from us. And they've replaced him in the short term with someone who's shown to be much better this season.
Yeah, some guy tweeted me, says best left back he's seen for 30 years. That's strong praise, is that? Yeah. Matt, it was so good one.
I'd take Toffolo. I'd take Toffolo over him, to be honest, Lincoln. But very good. It was very good. And do you know what? Lincoln deserved to score. They deserved it. I was just a little bit annoyed about how it came about. But they got what they deserved, didn't they, at that point, Killer?
7 minutes, wasn't it, I think, between goals. But like you say, Matt, it's just Alfie May should score. He doesn't, whatever reason, keeping, whatever you want to put it down to. And they were still under pressure at that point, and then they just get the free kick, which was never a free kick. Or if it was a free kick, it was clearly to us. It was an unbelievable decision that just gave them that belief, Matt. Like you said, that's what gets them back on side. That's what gives them a little bit of belief again. And it just drags them back into a game that, okay, to me, they deserve to have won before halftime. They didn't. We find ourselves 1-0 up. Yeah, we had a 5-minute spell that was quite good, Matt, as you mentioned, but it was still, over the grand scheme of things, against the run of the game. Yet, out of absolutely nothing other than a gift from the referee, they're given a chance to put it in the mixer. And then corners, we went zonal again. I couldn't really pick out any particular issues. Bojan didn't want to get involved in the first tussle, if you notice, when the ball came in for the corner. But again, when they've got that many bodies up there that are physically just bigger than our lads, if it does bounce, it's just fortunate who it bounces to, or unfortunate if it bounces to them. And that's where it went and reached. To be fair, I thought Leo Castledine had a go trying to stop it with his arm on the line. He would dive in, then he pulls his hand back, and then Balker's there as well.
I think Balker stops Castledine from blocking it. When you watch it back, I think Balker stops Castledine from blocking it. Yeah, a little bit. It might still have scored, but he stops him from making a better fist of it.
I don't mind that they both went back to the line, though, Matt. It was quite good that Balker and Castledine. The ball's obviously bouncing around. You try and get your own guys on the goal line to stop the shot if you can, and of course we didn't, but we were quite close. It's just one of those, like you say, Matt. The errors in the free kick that never was, because it gave them a chance to chuck the ball, to put the ball in and cause us a few problems, which they were always going to do. It was just, again, these things don't even out over the course of the season, do they, Matt? But it really did.
We looked at it last year. We got done.
Yeah, it's a joke, and it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened because it was clear Draper were fouling everybody all the way through the game. So for him to get that on wrong was a silly decision by the referee. And it's, again, I don't think it's cost us a point, though. I still feel like after that Lincoln,
no, I think they'd have still scored
quite a lot of us at us. Yeah. But it just shows you how much you have to be at it all the way through the games, even when sometimes the referee makes it much more difficult for you. It was just unfortunate for us.
I thought both teams kind of had a little flurry after that, but I think ultimately both teams kind of went, do you know what, this'll do. Which I thought was great that Lincoln treated us with that respect, to be honest, because we could have possibly been there for the beating. But I think I'm going to give credit to Town again. I thought they stood up to Lincoln after that and were pretty firm. I thought Balker was really good after that.
That Wallace thing. Yeah,
Wallace second half, brilliant.
I think that showed a side that I don't think we've seen a lot, Matt. That just kind of grafting and bodies on the line. There was a lot.
I thought there was togetherness. I thought there was a lot of togetherness in the team for the first time. Like we've mentioned on this on podcast before about players arguing. Killer especially has mentioned about players arguing with each other, blaming each other for things. Didn't see any of that over Christmas and New Year. I saw players, if anything, being a lot more together than they have been recently. And I thought they battled, they fought, and on that basis, you can say we possibly deserved a point. I mean, over the course of the game, Lincoln obviously XG's higher, they created more chances, had more shots. If a Lincoln fan said to me, we deserve to win that game, I'd just say, yeah, okay, fair enough. But in terms of fighting, desire, I thought that was great. I thought that was another tick in a box that we hadn't put a tick in for quite a while for Town. And I thought it was a good point. Yeah. I know you disagreed, Kosi.
I'm going to change my opinion here, Matt. I'm going to,
now you've had time to flip-flop.
Totally. I'm going to hold my hands up, mate, because I'll tell you what, right? Take away the league table and take away the results on that day and just what your eyes saw you. That were a really good point. I think I were fueled with the fact, obviously, we had the Dion Charles coming on for a bit. I was gutted that we didn't keep us lead, but obviously they scored quite a far to go. And then obviously we didn't deserve to win whatsoever, but we needed to win. And I think I'm maybe a bit naive to think that we were just going to go for it, because I think I was trying to think that we should have gone for it and we should have gone for it because we needed to win. But realistically, when you watch the highlights back and when you see kind of the roadmap of the game, what were we ever gonna, like who dares wins and all this stuff.
Taking Lee Grant pills.
I like that roadmap of Man City's ground.
That's a Grantism, is that? If I ever heard one, is that, Kosi?
No. So I've got to kind of say, look, I was swayed by the position in the table. Obviously, all them other scores, and we needed to win because we were winning. But overall, when you look back on it, no, fine with it, mate. So yeah, I've definitely got all my hands up. And but that's me all over. Like, just if you get me on release 30 minutes after the game, I'm just full of
I mean that's why I like that's why I like those voice notes to be right after the game, because it captures like the emotion of how you're feeling. I don't like it when people calm down and start being rational. That's not what I want. I want froth. I want real raw emotion. I don't want it to be Arsenal fan TV or anything, but I like people giving a shit when they're doing it. Me and Killer sit here and a couple of ponces out with hipsters, kind of like trying to give like calm, rational opinions. I like the froth. I like the excitement. I like the emotion that after the game brings whatever their emotion is. I think it's great, and I think it makes for good podcasting as well. But maybe that's just me. Just as long as it's not too silly like Arsenal fan TV, because that's too much the other way. So we all think it's a good point. Killer, good point for you? I think so.
Yeah, well, it was a good point. It was a good point. And even though we got pretty much battered in that first 45 minutes, and there's, again, extenuating circumstances why that happened, what I did enjoy about it, Matt, was we were playing against a team that were better on the day than us. It wasn't that we got more and more defensive. It wasn't that tactically we shifted what we were doing that just didn't work. Man for man, they were better than us on the day, yet we managed to stick together and grind out a point. That's a big positive for me and for Town, because I think we've not done that before this season. If I can quickly remember any of the performances like that, I can't. Where we've struggled, but we've been outplayed but hung on, and that's very different to other games where, for example, AFC Wimbledon, where we kind of had all the ball and then individual errors cost us, and all of a sudden 3 errors and we're 3-3 when we should have won that game at a canter. They're mistakes people have made. It was not like that at all, Lincoln. There was no real individual errors. It was just they had our number to an extent, and we managed to ride it out to take a point home. And whilst it's not fantastic, it was a positive, and that's why it was a positive day out. Yeah.
Great. New Year's Eve. Boys, anything that you do? Any specific traditions that you guys do? I mean, me and Rachel tend to just stay in on New Year's Eve. I think I've had too much of going out in my 20s and then been charged £100 for a taxi home because people take the piss, and been charged £20 into a pub which is free the next day and stuff like that. I can't be bothered with New Year's Eve, so we tend to sit and watch like Jules Holland's Hooting Anything, and because we live in central Leeds, you can just literally look out your window and there's just fireworks going off on like 360 degrees everywhere. So you just see them all over. So don't really need to go out. And obviously we've got a 7-year-old now, so and he decided he was going to try and stay up for it, which I wasn't overly keen on, but he managed to just about do it, and then watched it with us and did the fireworks, and then I sent him to bed and he slept in the morning, which was good. Anything you guys do which is different to staying in like a miserable twat like me?
I worked on New Year's Eve, Matt, but in true Heckman White style, I drove through Heckman White at 11:20 and I had to stop my car because 2 women were fighting in the street, and everyone went out of the pub trying to drag them apart, and it were violent, mate. It wasn't good to see. And I tell you what, where I live, mate, there must be some bad alarm clocks because I've never seen as many fireworks going off at 11:30, 11:15. Maybe there was celebrating other different countries going off an hour early or whatever, but. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, though, I've turned really boring and stuff, mate. And is Jules Holland still on that Ootmany or whatever? I didn't watch that. But
yeah, I know it's pre-recorded about 8 weeks in advance, isn't it? Yeah. But it's still pretty well put together. But they had one on the other channel as well, which was they had Ronan Keating. You turn over and you could watch Ronan Keating singing songs from 1999, which was kind of all right in a weird way. But yeah.
I thought Kosi were going to mention that. I thought Kosi were going to say he got out of his car and it was that woman from Mansfield Town again. Ready to kick off with you, Kosi. I thought that's where you were going with that story.
I don't think it'd be a big fight, would it? If that happened, she'd have knocked her out.
Sorry.
When Kosi goes on about her.
Really. We go to Wales every week. That's game.
We go to Wales from Boxing Day normally, or around Boxing Day. Normally after the Town game for the week. So we go to a place called Aberdaron, which is near Abersock, miles and miles and miles away. So we've got a little routine where there's a hot tub. So we go and sit in a hot tub while it counts down to the new year. However, we have to watch TV on iPlayer in there so we can work out on Hootenanny, Matt, or Jane McDonald. She has a nice sing-song now, but this year's was a repeat of last year's on Channel 5, so it wasn't great. However, when you watch it on iPlayer, it's like watching Town on Sky Sports Plus, isn't it? Where it's about 30 seconds delayed. So we're sat there watching, and the next minute you could hear farmers whose cottage we rent across the road celebrating. So we were about 30 seconds later than everybody else, but that was our little.
Reminds me of watching. It reminds me when I had to watch the World Cup in the office, and we had to watch it on iPlayer, and then we're in like an office in Leeds, and there's like 10 other offices all packed around. They're all watching it on TV. We didn't have a TV. We just had a monitor and then a laptop plugged in. So we were like 45 seconds behind. And then I think Gerrard had the ball on the wing. And I think it was when Jermaine Defoe scored against Slovenia, and like everyone cheered around us. And like 45 seconds later, it's like, yeah. It's like when you're watching it on iFollow, and it's like 45 seconds behind, and Kozi's like messaging you straight away. What a goal that is! Straight away, it's like fuck's sake, Kosi.
Matt,
just as it's going in.
This yesterday. I'm not
Footmob does it as well, doesn't it? There's a goal flashes up if you got your phone on.
I'm not going to name the bar involved in Huddersfield yesterday, but Manchester City played Chelsea at 5:30. Somehow they'd managed to use Sky Plus. They must have put a pause on or something on it. But basically, it were about 20-6, and we were still seeing like Pep being interviewed before the game. So I'm like, what? I says, guys, can you put the game on? So like, it's on. Like, no, it's not on live. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, I just shot like with 10 minutes. Oh, sorry, mate. But I'm not naming the bar because it's a good
That's
bar.
the biggest joke going is when you're watching a game on Now TV legally, that's slower than other people that have got the dodgy little box. Every time, everyone else is celebrating goal. I'm paying for it properly, and I'm delayed. I can't see what everyone else is seeing. Okay. How does that work?
How we moved on from New Year to this? But anyway, do we have to put the elephant in the room? Here we go.
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention before wasn't it good to see a lad from Huddersfield in the darts get to the last 16, Charlie Manby, 20-year-old from Huddersfield. Just Scott Bradley with his average of 36.
He's on fire now.
I know. This Charlie Manby got to the last 16, lost into to Guillaume Van Veen, who got to the final, and it was really good. It was really good. He lost 4-1 in the last 16, but before that, he dumped out a couple of really experienced ones and was really good. So I'm really excited to see how he does over the next few years. And I think he was ranked 116th or 166th, one or the other. So hopefully he'll push right up now, and he can go on and compete into these tournaments. Although apparently he said that he wants to stay and be a brickie and not go full time with darts, which is he's got his feet on the ground. Good lad. So yeah, really excited to see where he goes. And obviously Josh Phillips, who sometimes comes onto the pod, is a pod listener as well. He works for the PDC, so he's so yeah, he'll keep an eye on him for him as well, which is great. So let's go to the Exeter Elephant. So it was my 10-year wedding anniversary, Kosi, on Sunday. And I know how to treat a lady. I took her to watch Huddersfield Town versus Exeter City.
Did you get a seat, Matt? Were there any seats available?
Oh, there was a few, yeah. Although to be fair, she buggered off because we park about 15 minutes walk away. Good for the steps.
No.
Yeah, well, she ran off. Charlie fell asleep in the car, so I had to wake him up and get him ready and get his gloves and hat on and said blah, 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 blah. And she ran off to Greg's and brought steak bake into the ground. So there we go. We had a steak bake while watching Huddersfield Town versus Exeter City. That's how you celebrate your 10-year wedding anniversary. Let's get the referee out of the way. She was crap. I can't have anyone, Kosi, saying she had a good game. I can't get over that decision to penalise Murray Wallace for getting kicked in the head. It's just literally one of the. It's up there with John Worthington getting sent off for shooting. It was just it was so bad.
I like the fact. I like the fact
Bojan got wiped out. Bojan got wiped out twice, which I thought one of them looked like a possible red card as well, and she played on both times. He literally took an elbow in the face. Although it's a little bit grainy, the footage, and they were just so bad. But I just want to say, because I know she'll get hammered because she's a woman basically, and I think a lot of people went a bit overboard because of that. But I thought all three referees during Christmas were crap, and equally so. But I still can't get over Murray Wallace getting kicked in the face and getting a foul given against him for it. I just thought that were unbelievable. But
she reminded me of one of those umpires you get at cricket, where they'll say, "Oh, at least you don't give any decisions both ways and stuff like that."
Fair enough. She wasn't biased.
No, but I'll tell you another thing I want to bring up, Matt, because obviously my friend went to Hull City game yesterday. Well, it never happened, and obviously the game was called off because of the sidelines rather than the actual pitch. And obviously we'll come on to Rowan in a minute, but the third thing that kind of was in my mind, the kind of observations early on, there was so many people slipping. Castledine just kept slipping left, right, and centre and stuff, and it makes you wonder. You might know a bit better than me, guys, with the pitch and stuff, but like the science. But under Solene, does they leave it on when the game's on? Is it different, or is it just or is it the ice? I don't know about the science, mate, but it would so.
Well, it just does the grass, doesn't it? It just does the grass. It doesn't do the side. I think Sean Rowan slipped, didn't he? And then possibly that's led to his groin going.
Murray Wallace went. There were a few
couple of theirs went.
Couple of theirs went for them. They're number 17, if you noticed. He must have gone down 6 or 7 times. Every time he went out, he was on his ass. Every time. No, I think the heating under the pitch does normally stay on, but it's not at a level where you'd notice it. It's very, very low. It just makes sure it doesn't freeze. But remember what it used to be like around the pitch. It used to be the red ash, didn't it? They didn't have a surface, and then we did
What did they used to call it? Regra, didn't they?
I can't remember what it was called, but I do wonder if that would have been okay. But now we've gone with the surface over the top of it. Any heat wouldn't have transitioned to that, even if.
Are we blaming Phil Hodgkinson's blue carpety sort of area? Are we blaming Phil?
You, not me, Matt. He runs a legal company. I am not going down that road again.
Phil, we didn't mean it. Yeah, so let's do this. I thought first half, Town did quite well. I quite enjoyed the first half. Kosi's rattling away, and if you can hear him in the background.
Got my notes, mate. Yeah.
Oh, you got your notes? I thought you had some like Thornton's Continentals or something.
I just got Exeter City. Great style of football. Enjoyed watching them.
I thought they were really good. Do you know what? I'm going to caveat what I say with I thought Exeter were really good. And as we mentioned earlier, they went away to Lincoln and won. They are quite high up in the form table at the minute. Gary Caldwell is doing a phenomenal job because they were predicted to be bottom 4 this year. And when people
all on the deck, mate.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Some of the transitions in midfield were brilliant. I think they were poor at the back, which we didn't take advantage of enough. But honestly, the way they moved the ball around and the way they moved us around, and how they beat the press as well was really impressive. It was really good. They were good against us down at their place as well when we won 1-0. They were just very ineffective in the final third. But they were just, I think they're a little bit better. I think Reece Cole's a really good player. I think he's a really underrated player outside of Exeter. Exeter City fans love him. But he's a really good player. But I think Town do quite well in the first half, and it's a good goal from Harness. Castledine gives him the ball, and he disguises it brilliantly. He looks like he's going to whip it into the other corner and then comes across it. I think people remember the penalty shootout against Leicester, was it, where he did that on the penalty shootout earlier in the season, but he cuts across it and it's brilliant. And do you know what I love about this is the celebration, because I think him and the fans needed that celebration. I know the fans have been singing Marcus Harness, he fights who he wants, etc., which I'm fully on board with, by the way. But I think he needed that. I think he needed that little moment, because if we go back to the Wigan game, where we were quite frothy, weren't we? After that, there was a story about Marcus Harness saying to the Town fans in the Cowshed Loyal or in that stand, "Help us," and then he was just getting absolute abuse back. And then we were talking about the disconnect and how everything between the players and fans was becoming disconnected again, and how they were falling out, and the players don't like the fans, etc., etc. But that moment was brilliant because the fans are singing his song before he scores. He scores. And even though that celebration, I think some people will roll their eyes and think it's silly. I think it's brilliant because he's lent into that song, even though he probably doesn't want that video going around about or anyone talking about that night out, etc. But he's lent into it, and he's bridged a gap there with the fans just by doing the boxing thing. I mean, he didn't hit the corner flag once; it was absolutely shambles. So thankfully, he wasn't fighting in that video, but. Just doing something like that just brings you closer together to the fans, and the fans will all think more favourably of him now when he passes the ball to the opposition. As silly as it sounds, it just creates that little togetherness, little bonds, and the goal was great. The build-up to it, I thought Marcus Harness was brilliant for the first 60 minutes. I thought he was excellent in midfield. I thought he was really, really good before he tired. The goal, great. The celebration was even better because it just bridges that gap, and I just thought... great moment all around that killer.
It was a great moment. It really was. And what I liked about it, Matt, was the way Exeter played. Like, I'll agree with you two. I thought they were fantastic at the back. The first couple of minutes when they're passing it out, you're thinking, they can't play like this all game. They're going to get caught. But no, honestly, their one-touch passing around corners was brilliant. It's as good as anybody we've seen this year.
The keeper was good. Keeper was brilliant.
That's what I want to see us do. That's how we should be. That's how you want to play out from the back. It was never in danger, which is what was really, really good about it. It wasn't that they held on to it and held on to it and held on to it. They played pretty safe. But because it was so many one-touch passes, everybody knew where to go. Everyone knew the designed runs. They played the way through our press quite easily at times in the first 20 minutes. We shifted a little bit and got better for it, but they were very impressive playing out from the back. I will just say, lads, going into this game though, they'd only scored 5 goals away from home in the last 9 games. So whilst they are pretty good at passing out from the back, they aren't clinical. They're not great away from home. They were 22nd in the form table over the last 10 games away from home. So I'm just going to put a little downer on this performance from this on out. If we'd have done a driving, Matt, I think we'd have covered it.
What's this? What happened to this new year, new Kilroy-Sulk? I thought we were positive Kilroy-Sulk now. You just gone back to 2025 Ian Kilroy here with this. What's going on, mate?
You got an hour and 7 minutes. I don't know how much more you can expect. That's probably longer than most people's New Year's resolutions, Matt. Anyway, I'm back more negative than ever. But no, they're a solid team that play football in a really nice way, but they don't score many goals and they don't concede many goals. This was my point. But what I did like about the Harness goal was there was 2 opportunities before this where Harness was the free man. Exeter know they can't score many goals. They know they need to be resolute in defence. So what they do is they pack the box. They get the guys narrow. I was surprised Sweeney didn't start. The ball guy that came on and basically ran the show down the right-hand side for the last 30 minutes because he's the better defender. He's always been that for them since he's been there. He's a solid centre back, right back that can play football really, really well. For him not to be starting made a big difference for us because I think he did change pretty much the outcome of the game when he came on for many different reasons. But they were just so good at it. But Harness was the free man on the edge of the box twice before he did manage to score. And we picked up on that. So all our kind of play was trying to break it down the wings for a change, Matt, pulling it back towards Harness for him to get a shot away. But even for his goal, which, like I say, I'm with you, I thought his Tim Cahill celebration was fantastic. Apart from until he kicked the corner flag, like you say, he didn't really touch it. It was that he still had to go past 2 diving Exeter bodies. That's how they were willing to throw themselves as much as he can at the ball to try and stop these kind of shots. But it was a cracking finish. It was a great finish. And like you say, Matt, a moment there between the fans and the players that I only really feel like Alfie May's offered this season, in that I can't remember another moment between any player on the town side that have got any sort of rapport with the fans, especially at home. But to be fair to Cowshed Loyal, I thought they were great on Sunday. Again, I'm with you because no idea what day it is at this point. But they were really supportive of the team from the off, I thought they were really, really good. But no, it was nice to see Harness there, and like you say, showing a little bit of feedback. But the chanting must have only been 2 minutes before he scored. There wasn't long, was there, between he fights who he wants and then popping it in and celebrating in the best way possible. But no, it was a good goal, well worked goals, and again by design, Matt, which is something I've sat here before. There's a positive spin here. Lee Grant previously I spoke about how tactically, attacking wise, I'm not seeing very much going forward. This was definitely something that changed in the game because, Matt, I don't know if you noticed this, but I thought Lee Grant in this game was the most animated I've seen him in any game at all, even from kickoff.
The most frothing at the end as well.
Yeah, it was keeping the ball from Exeter every time it went out. There was one where he bounced it away from him.
He was playing basketball, wasn't it, at one point? Just like really slowly in his own little world playing basketball.
He was running up and down to the 4th official. He was giving the line of something. But that's what I want to see. I want to see that. That's Northern football in regards to how the manager should behave. And I know the people hate it. And if somebody comes to the away dugout at the ACU and does this, we all say he's a dickhead and whatever.
Well, Gary Caldwell does it, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he got his booking. Somebody behind me 2 minutes in said, well, he's going to get booked in it today. Look at him. Yeah, definitely. Then 20 minutes from the end, he did get his yellow card, didn't he? But no, it was just nice to Lee Grant there. I feel like you can see him getting more animated. Is it desperation? Is it worry? Is it anger? Whatever it is, it's there. And it's just nice to see it because that's something I was critical about before, but he was definitely at it himself on Sunday.
I thought their goal. I thought our goal was good, but I clapped their goal. Not often I do that, mate. I remember Ronaldinho scoring it in Bernabeu, and Madrid fans clapping. But back in the day, the famous clap. But it was sensational. Their goal, absolutely sensational. I've written down here: Wallace slid in, Rowan backed off, but the ball wedged under the net. It was sensational. I'm trying to think of an harder shot at our ground, and the only thing I can think of, and I'm sure there'll be loads more. I'm obviously going to cast, but I remember that West Brom guy. Only a couple of years ago, wasn't it? I forgot what it was, but it was absolutely thunderbolt, wasn't it? And I clapped their goal at that time. It was brilliant, mate. And when you watch it back, like, it's such a good goal. And Cole is like...
Do you know what? I've watched it back and it pisses me off because, for 3 reasons. Yeah. Both central midfielders are unmarked and Reece Cole's unmarked. And I watched it back and I thought, do you know what? It's a brilliant hit by Reece Cole. But Kasumu is in the middle of about 3
He's doing nothing. He's doing nothing.
Harness is doing nothing. Both of them are just completely lost in this. And Town struggle. Every time Town come up against a team who play with a number 10 or 2 number 10s, they struggle with how to pick it up. And it either ends up being a defender having to come out from a back 4, or in this case, a back 3 to try and jump into midfield, or 2 midfielders having to drop back 10 yards and going onto the defender's toes. And it felt a bit regressive, did this game in some respects, and also progressive in others. But it just, when you look at it and you stop it from the point where it's out wide on the left and they pass the ball inside for the first time, Both central midfielders, I think is it McMillan and Briley, are both unmarked. No one within 5-6 yards. There's no one within 5 yards of Reece Cole. And it's like, what are we doing at this point? And I don't know whether it's zonal versus man marking. I'm not sure. But it's just like, what are we doing? Because Kasumu is completely lost. And I don't blame him too much because he's got no support or backup here. And it feels like Castledine and Harness are out of position as well. And maybe they needed to drop further in. But it's frustrating. It's, as much as it is a brilliantly technical honestly, the hit on the ball is phenomenal. It's technically brilliant. But from our point of view, to see three key players out of 4 unmarked in the third, I thought it was criminal at that point. I thought it was really bad.
But Matt, what I don't get is after Lee Grant said it's a great goal, and then nobody else has picked up on. I'm with you, Matt. I think the defending's appalling for it. I think it's absolutely shocking. What he's done is rescore. For a lot of the game, you and I disagreed on how effective Sean Rowan was in this game. Sean Rowan picked him up quite a bit, and he does, of our centre-backs, he's the guy that will follow people into that 10 role. And he followed Cole for a bit. What happened in that moment... A little bit before as well, but on that moment, Cole shifted to the right-hand side, and Murray Wallace is the guy that should have gone out with him, and he doesn't go. He don't go at all. You'll see back in the replay, Wallace is stood 10 yards off him. Kasumu's 4 yards to the wrong side of him, and like you say, Matt, I don't understand why he's there. And if Lee Grant afterwards is saying there it's not a defensive issue and it's just a great goal, then Kasumu must be there by design, and then the system's wrong. I'm with you, Matt. I think this is another issue where zonal markings cost us, and I think it costs us game after game after game. There's no coincidence, Matt, that we are 3rd or 4th worst when it comes to goals conceded. I don't know exactly what it is. I might need to be stat corrected at this point, but we are really towards the bottom when it comes to how well we can keep the ball out of our goal, and that's because of this zonal marking system in midfield. For me, Matt, when Harney scores, there's 2 guys diving in. It's a fantastic finish. It really is a great finish, Kosi. I won't stand up and clap. I'm not quite there just yet, but you can't have that much space. If you give most professional footballers 20 yards from goal, especially 10s that do shoot from range, they're going to make it tough for the goalkeeper to stop. And yes, it's a fantastic finish, but you can't allow somebody that much space in that area of the field. But what he did was he pushed our defensive line back, dropped back into the midfield, and none of the centre-backs went with him. None of them shifted. And that was where that goal came from for me, Matt. So I'm with you. I'm not going to say it's a poor goal. No, it's a fantastic finish.
From their point of view, it's brilliant.
It's a fantastic finish. But we've given a guy who scores from that range free rein to have a decent effort on goal, and we can't be surprised that he's put it in regardless of how beautiful it is. There was missed assignments there, or the assignments that were tasked were wrong.
Yeah, I thought we struggled with Niskanen on the right. I thought he was good for large spells of the game, especially at the beginning and end. I thought Gooch struggled with him for a little while, and I thought we really struggled with Reece Cole and his movement. I thought he was really good, really intelligent. Another tick in the box killer is, we've said before, haven't we, that Town are resistant to change. Lee Grant's resistant to change, but not on this occasion. Again, it's another tick in a box that we'll talk about in a few minutes, whereby he's changed the system around about the 37, 38 minute mark, and he's gone to a back 4 and he's gone to 4-2-3-1. Alpha May drops to number 10. Boyan plays striker. Cam Ashia, who isn't a wing back, bless him, gets pushed to be an orthodox winger. The thing I didn't like is that means that Castledine has to go onto the left, where he's far less effective. But it worked, and it worked within 5 minutes. The change worked within 5 minutes, having Ashia further forward, Kosi. And Ashia, to his credit, does really well here. I think it's Harness, isn't it, who one of them plays it through, doesn't it, and it gets flicked, and maybe there's a little stroke look.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think he pokes it, doesn't he? I think it's Harness's flick or ball, and then Castledine pokes it. Ashia's in a flash. Boyan manages to just about keep himself inside. No, it's perfect. And then, because he did previous to that, and then he puts it across, and Boyan scores a carbon copy of a goal he got a few weeks ago, didn't he? Where he just taps it in on the far post.
Yeah, because I thought he was going to give it straight. I thought give it straight away, and then he kind of, whether it were luck or judgment, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He kind of just kept on it. I thought, oh no, maybe a bit too, but well, perfect. He was absolutely perfect in that as well. And again, the one thing I like, you mentioned that Anish celebration, Matt. I love the Bojan and Ash's celebration and that as well. Again, a bit of togetherness. Yeah. You were like pointing on it and whatever, and like bowing and what have you and that as well. But good. We know what Ash can do. We've seen it, in bursts this season. And like I said, a bit unfamiliar kind of wing position, but yeah, it was great, mate. And again, a good sign because we've not seen much, have we, when we've kind of come from behind and obviously they've levelled a bit of a brutal goal, but yeah, we've gone back in front and we'll come on to their goal later on. But that's what made it so disappointing for me, that the fact that we didn't see it out, that we'd worked so hard to get back in front just before half time and that as well. And yeah, that's probably where the good things end about last night. But decent goal and again, Bojan, and it's all right to say an easy goal, but I think how many times do you see Shearer score goals like that back in the day? Or the best
Bojan was excellent. Yeah.
Dirty, mate, getting the dirty positions, the box players, man, lovely.
Yeah, I thought Bojan was excellent, mate. I thought Town were good in that first half because you have to drop off in a minute, don't you? Just you can say your farewells when you need to drop off. But I thought Town were good first half, Killer. I know I thought Exeter were fairly decent, but I thought Town worked things out and were really good. And at this point, Town are closer to third than we've been for quite a long time. We're winning at half time, fourth in the table. We've gone from 9th to 4th over this period, which is good progress. We've got what we've got. If we're taking the points tally at that moment in time, over the Christmas period, what have we got? We've got something like 13 points from 15, which would be incredible. That we didn't expect, did we, to be as good as or be in this position at the end. And it would have been a brilliant way to bookend what had been a really good period. And then we turn that second half in, and it feels like we've made all these positive steps forward, and then we take one back. And that second half was really disappointing. And I think I would be tempted to label it as tiredness. And I know it's the same for everyone. People play differently, don't they, in different styles and et cetera, et cetera. So some people feel it a bit more than others. People don't have the squad we have either. So I think part of it might have been tiredness, mentally tired. But I thought Town were really disappointed.
I'm going, guys. Love you all. See you soon.
All right, pal. So the Bears nipping out there. Killer, this second half was just really frustrating because everything had been so positive over Christmas up until this point. And now we have to kind of talk about this second half where Town were really disappointing. And it's not just us that are going to do that. Lee Grant frothed at full time on Radio Chest. He wasn't very happy at all. He said players weren't doing what he wanted them to do. They ignored instructions. And it's very difficult to kind of pinpoint now, is it Lee Grant's fault? Is it the players' fault? Because we don't know what the instructions were, or we don't know what his instructions were to sort of indicate what players should be doing. Every substitution didn't work in the second half, which I think we maybe let Ryan Ledson off because he came on 86 minutes, perhaps. It's hard to get into midfield, isn't it, if you come on at that point. It was just disappointing to sort of see Town regressing deeper. I'm almost singing Jamiroquai there. Just going back, and Exeter were brilliant. Exeter were fair play to them. They were really good. But when they scored that second goal, it was like a kind of moment because it felt like we'd made so much progress to then go back a little bit. And Town fans are desperate for this team to make big strides, progress, to burst. And, we've burst into the top 6. It's brilliant. We've played more games than the others. I think we have to take that into account. But Town are back in the picture now, and that's great. But it could have been a little bit better, and it probably should have been a little bit better, as good as Exeter were in that second half. I thought the way they popped the ball around was very impressive. And to be honest, someone said to me, well, it's Exeter, we shouldn't let them do that. And I think that's a fair argument to a point. I just thought Town there were just old habits die hard, don't they? And I think they just slipped into a couple of older habits there. And maybe Sean Rowan, maybe that made a difference. I wasn't overly convinced. But Feeney came on and he's been out for a little while. He's going to be rusty. He didn't play particularly well. I have to mention Lee Nichols' brilliant save in the first half with his feet, by the way. It's a great save. Feeney didn't play particularly well. Sorensen came on, didn't really, again on the left. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think he's poor on the second goal, Sorensen. I think he gets dragged into the middle when he should be staying with Niskanen, who puts the ball in. But I've liked Sorensen this season, so I'm not going to go too heavy on him. But I don't really want to leave the games on a sour note. But it was just disappointing, wasn't it? How it panned out.
how disappointing it is depends on your perspective of it. I think you and me disagree a little bit on this, Matt, to give people a little bit of an insight to our private messaging. There's been no photos, but Matt, I think you put it down to player performance as not being at it in that second half more than tactical changes. I think that might be fair. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, but we don't know what.
No, that's
Grant's,
fair. That's my issue.
Don't know
my
what
issue.
the technical switches are. I thought
that's fine.
Every sub that came on played poorly, played really poorly. And your mate, I know you get hammered, don't you, for Ben Wiles. Do you know what's really funny is if Ben Wiles plays poorly, people blame you. And that, and
just
it's bizarre,
he can go. He should leave. He should be on his way this month. Just to be clear on my Ben Wiles stance, it was never that I thought he was a good player. I just think he offers something that nobody else can. Even in his poor 25 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes on Sunday, he still managed to drive the ball forward 3 times when Ashley did absolutely nothing in those few minutes.
This is what I mean. This is what I mean by players. This is what I mean by killer. This is what I mean by players. Because at one point, Ben Wiles, by the way, had 100% pass accuracy rate in that second half, but he drove the ball forward through the middle at one point. It was actually the best thing he did. It was a really good run. And Dion Charles ran behind a striker, defender backwards. And this is what I mean by player performance. What are you doing, Dion Charles? Because that is not an instruction. That's
what gets me, though, Matt. This is what gets me.
Dion Charles doing something stupid. Because Dion Ben Wiles could have slid him in and he finishes the game off. And that was just like... And Alfie May did the same. The ball got played... I think Ben Wiles was involved with this as well. The ball got played to Alfie May on the right-hand side. And he just had to pass... I think it was through to... Maybe Boyan was still on at that point, into the middle. And he didn't. He looked the other way and he went wide and he gave the ball away. And it's like, what? The decision-making was really poor throughout that second half. And it was disappointing. And I don't want to labour it too much because I think it's been a good period on balance. But it was just, it just should have been a little bit better. And I thought the players let themselves down a little bit. Not all of them, just a few of them just let themselves down a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, but whilst I agree to an extent, Matt, I still think in that second half we've overcorrected. I honestly believe there was a talk at half time in regards to Exeter had broke us a few times. They'd broken our press a few times. So whilst in that first half, Matt, we sent you talk about the 4-2-3-1, which basically becomes a 4-2-4 if you're pressing, right? We made sure we were man for man all the way across the field in that first half, from kick-off in the second. And remember, other than Rome going off for Feeney, which did bring us down a little bit, but not in this way. We didn't press them in the same way because we were fearful of them coming through it and being able to kind of get into second phase and then into our final third. And I think we overcorrected, Matt. I genuinely think we overcorrected, and that's why we got deeper and deeper and deeper. For me, that's either the manager telling the players to do that or the manager communicating it in a way where the players think they need to do that. And maybe that's why the anger's there. But the second half before Castledown went off, to be fair, I didn't think we were that bad, actually. When Castledown was swapped for Wiles, for those, that isn't what ended Town's performance. I felt like it was when...
It was Sweeney coming on for Exeter.
Yeah, Sweeney was unbelievable. But no, as soon as Harness went off, and like you say, you're saying this, Matt, you can't blame Ledson, he came on it. Don't bring him on then. The game, if it's in the balance, don't make that change. He didn't pick up for the goal. He was at fault partially as well in there. There was all sorts of mistakes in that, Matt. But for me, the biggest difference was we were pressing defensively in a way that was controlled. When Alfie May does it and Bojan do it, Alfie May is the best presser of the ball we have on the team by miles. He arcs his run, he makes sure he knows where people are going to play it back to. Dion Charles comes on and doesn't do it. And now, if you go back to the goal, if you watch the highlight of the goal on YouTube, you can see from the first moment where Alfie May goes to try and close down Exeter's left centre-back or whatever formation's gone to at that point, Dion Charles doesn't bother trying to press the central centre-back, and Lee Grant's going mental. Because what that meant was he's allowed the ball then to easily go into him. Ben Wiles has then got to make the decision to go further up the field, and everything's off from that moment out. There was so many disconnects. Lee Grant, throughout that entire play, is screaming at about 6 different players. For me, Charles doesn't press properly. Wiles half-asses it and then gets back into the correct position, but then half-asses it for a second time, which does us in. Sorensen,
I thought his body language. I thought Ben Wiles' body language off of the ball was horrendous.
That is Ben Wiles' problem. No matter what he ever does on the ball for Town, whatever he ever has done, because he looks like he just does not care.
There was a ball that got played to Sweeney, and it's Ben Wiles' man, is that? And it got played to Sweeney, and I watched Ben Wiles, and he just went like this, and then kind of like did a token run, and I just thought, there's 10 minutes at the time. There's like 10 minutes left. you're winning 2-1. You should be busting a gut to do that. And I just thought, and I've stuck up for him a lot with you as well over the past. And when he plays well, I'll say he plays well. When he plays poorly, I'll say he plays poorly. But when you're winning 2-1 and you're supposed to be one of the vice captains and in this group of leaders, I just think you need leaders to step up in those situations. And I think this is what perplexes a lot of people about Ben Wiles, because when he talks, he's a really nice guy. You know what I mean? And you think, you know what, I'd like Ben Wiles if I ever met him. He seems like a good bloke. But when you see things like that and his body language just going, oh, do I have to run? It's hard for Luddites like us to take to him. Do you know what I mean? That annoyed me. And that happens on the goal as well. But this is when you say Dion Charles there.
This is the part that gets me. Everyone picks out that's the issue because of his body language. Yeah, there's 5 other people not doing their job. Dion Charles starts that play,
which is why I say it's a player issue rather than a.
Yeah, but who's
making
the substitutions?
But the thing is, though, we've just played 4 games in 10 days or whatever, or 4 games in 4 hours. You have to make substitutions. I think some of them were knackered. Castledine was goosed. He had to go. I think one of the things which I think is valid is that I would have liked to have seen Will Alves on for Castledine, because he plays naturally in that left-sided position. But when I've asked the people that I ask, the answer I got back was that he might not have been able to play for that long. He's on the bench potentially for a shorter stint or something. Or maybe that's what I'm kind of trying to put 2 and 2 together on, which is fine. You know, you can use different players for different positions. That's not a negative. So Ben Wiles comes on in that situation. I would have liked to have maybe kept Castledine on for longer, but if you do that, then Stockport is on the horizon. You've got to take that into account, as well. And maybe it's just a tired squad doing tired things, and we can overthink it. But it doesn't make you any less disappointed, I guess.
It was just, I thought, again, I really think that second half there was an instruction or a miscommunication, which meant we sat deeper and deeper and deeper, invited Exeter into a game that they had no right in being in. Okay, they played out nicely from the back at the first half, Matt, but I thought we were comfortable enough, and I just felt like we gave them a chance to find the feet in the game, and we didn't have to. It's as if we showed them too much respect.
I thought we lost midfield.
We did, and then yeah, I think that's fair enough, but as soon as Harness came off, I thought we looked like a total different team as well. I really think
that was like 86. Yeah, that was like 86 minutes though, and I think they were peppering us long before that. But shall we move on from Exeter, because I feel like we could sit here and be miserable about them for a while. I think what we should do is find out what the Andy Takes That Chance squad, and particularly Malcolm from Mytham Royd, and see what he's been up to this week.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Bouvet.
Hello. There is no one here to take your call, so for your convenience, we have answered it automatically. Now don't hang up. When you hear the tone, leave your name and a brief message, and we will contact you upon our return.
It's Malcolm Mercantile in Mytham Royd. Just in my bed after getting home from a game against Northampton, and I thought it was a bloody lovely old job, so I did. You know, we could have scored a dozen goals against them, Latif Radulovic, and Maid had his bloody shooting boots on, and if Balkrant had done that bloody stupid bicycle overhead kick of his. But, you know, you can't bloody complain about that. We fifth it table and we motored in on. The only thing I know that I had to say about Northampton was that bloody goalkeeper. As I said in one of my last voice notes, I've been supporting this football club for 112 years now. And when I was at school, I must have been in first year or second year, that goalkeeper for Northampton was 2 years above me, so it was strange to bloody see him there tonight anyway. I thought he did a good job. Apart from that time when he was just walking back to his goal and he took an hernia and fell down for half an hour. But anyway, that's by the by. With the way to Lincoln on Thursday, I'll be going down and yeah, I don't know what's going on with my accent, but it's changed up here anyway. It's probably time for me to end this voice note now. We'll see you next week. Up the town.
John McNamara, Northern Ireland's most handsome man here, coming to you live just after the game. I'm fairly happy. I'm fairly happy with a point from that game. Obviously, slightly disappointed that we didn't get all three, because I do think there was a definite chance for us to get a win out of the game today. I thought the game plan was decent. You know, you go into the game against a team that are flying high and they're playing really, really well at home. And you settle in and you weather the storm for the first 20, 30 minutes. And yes, we did have to ride a luck at times. And there were one or two players that weren't situationally aware, the likes of Leo Castledine, Marcus Harness, and maybe Bojan in that first half an hour, 45 minutes, which meant we couldn't really get out as well as we probably intended to do. But in the second half, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant the way that we managed to get out. My only criticism is after we'd scored that first goal that we didn't potentially capitalise and get a second. Naturally, I am disappointed about conceding the goal that we conceded, but we have to recognise that Lincoln are a fantastic team from set pieces, and we just got the defending of that set piece completely wrong. The mixture between man marking and zonal that had worked well in the first half with Murray Wallace and others coming clear and heading the ball from the middle just didn't work. They just got dragged in at the near post and the centre of the box, and for some reason Marcus Harness just wasn't watching the ball. Lost his man, and we conceded the goal. But I think in months gone by and weeks gone by, we'd definitely lose that game. We'd go on to lose 2-1 or 3-1. But yeah, if things had gone slightly better, we would have won that game. I think the game plan was good. And the reason for us not winning is just mistakes and certain players not having the best day on the ball. But yeah, onwards and upwards. Very happy with what I'm seeing from Huddersfield Town over the last 4 games.
Hello, it's Malcolm Murgatroyd from Marvinrod here. I was down at game today in Lincoln, I tell you what, it was a trip down memory lane with that. I used to live on South Thorpe Street, which is just behind Sinsel Bank. I lived down there in Diggs when I was working for RAF during the Battle of Britain, and I tell you what, I had a lovely old time. But something I thought were bloody very disrespectful today were every time one of them Wazzicks for Lincoln took one of them bloody long throws, which, by the way, went about 400 bloody yards, they played an air raid siren. And for someone like me, who fought the Germans tooth and nail in 1940, that was very triggering. I thought the Messerschmitt were going to come down and bloody drill bullets into Bojan Radulovic and the rest of us. So I didn't say his name properly there. Anyway, on to the game. What a fantastic bloody game that was. We've been asking for a bit of resilience and a bit of bravery from these lads for bloody yonks. And I tell you what, Lee Grant's got into him. And he said, go out there and play like the Lionhearts you are. And I'm so delighted. We should have bloody won the game if it weren't for that Pelicanus not watching ball. But anyway, I don't want to dampen. I don't want to be a damp squib or ruin anyone's parade or, urinate on someone's parade, if you catch me drift. So anyway, it's been a good start to 2026, and my words, we'll bloody stay up. We'll bloody get promoted this season. Christ, we won't stay up. We'll get promoted this season. I just hope I'm alive to see it. All the best now.
Hi, Billy Town here. Couple of frustrating games there to end a pretty good Christmas overall. The Lincoln game, I think we just played against a good team. They pasted us in the first half, but thankfully didn't actually take advantage of that dominance. Exeter, really frustrating though, wasn't it? It just looked like, one, we were perhaps a little bit knackered at the end of Christmas, but two, there were some strange decisions that just didn't really seem to give us any drive by the end of the match, and in fact took it entirely away from us. So yeah, I thought we just chose to allow that equaliser to some extent. By really losing any of the energy that we had in the team, any of the drive that we had in the team. Really frustrating, I think. We'll see how it goes on the next match. Cheers all.
Hey, so it's Jerry Hennon after Town 2, Exeter 2, and I would have thought at the beginning of the season that if at the end of the festive fixtures Town were 4th in the table with the 3rd best goal differential in the division, I'd feel pretty good about that. And I don't. Town just finished a run of 7 games where they could have won 6 of them. We should have won 6 of them, or at least could have been expected. Obviously you're not going to win every game you expect to win. And, the game away to Lincoln was a little bit different. A draw there is a fine result. They won 3 of those. I don't think that's good enough. The performance against Wigan wasn't good. The performance against Lincoln, again, for me, was not good. They were lucky to be tied at halftime of that game. The performance against Exeter today, not good. A little bit unlucky in that Exeter scored with 2 incredible finishes. But when you're ahead by a goal at halftime at home against Exeter and you are the second best team in the second half, which Town were today, you can't complain, can you? So 13 points from those 7 games, it's not terrible, but does it say, oh, we're going to go on and win promotion? No, it doesn't say that at all. So, I'm not thrilled. I look at the stats and look at where Town is in the table, and I think I should be encouraged, and I'm just not. So there you go, up the Town.
Hey guys, it's Marcus here doing the Exeter review. 2-2 at home. Might be a bit rambly this one because it's really frustrated me as that game. I mean, Town have scored two pretty good goals. They've conceded a great strike, but it should be defended, and then a really bad piece of defending, which Lee Grant himself was fuming with. But another game where I've come away going, after all the things we built up, 10 points in 12, 10 points out of 12, and you're thinking good away result at Lincoln, but it's just another game I've come away thinking that tactically it's just, I don't think Lee Grant has it. I'm not an aggressive Lee Grant out guy, but it's another game. I think a good manager just puts that game to bed, knows what he's doing. That game's gone all messed up when he brought Lyndon Gooch off. Lyndon Gooch had that left side locked down. He had it locked down. They couldn't get past him. He was getting past them every time. He brings Gooch off. This is a guy that's played, probably over 200 games for Sunderland. Nearing that. And you're telling me he can't play a full 90 here? It's just a decision where it's like, I'll save it for next week. I'll save him for next week. I don't get it. These guys can play 90 minutes. Okay, maybe Castledine's got something with Chelsea. I don't know. But why can't we play for 90 minutes? Why can't we just seem to keep going for 90 minutes? It's so frustrating. After we've built such a great little run going, and when you could feel the fans maybe starting to get a little bit more behind them, just comes crashing down again.
Welcome, good side. My wife's having a C-section tomorrow. And I tell you what, me watching that second half of football today is more pain than she'll have to go through going under that bloody knife. And listen, I know what you're saying. You've been listening to me for weeks on end here. I told you I've been supporting this club for 115 years. And you're all wondering, how's my wife having a C-section? What can I say? I'm a ladies' man. I'm a womanizer. I'm on my 7th wife. And listen, I like to have a ream of little kids. Hopefully, one day they'll be playing for Huddersfield Town instead of Leeds Wassocks. I tell you what, if I have to see it like Ben Wiles or Josh Feeney donning Huddersfield Town shirt again, I will bloody at their roof. I don't even get me started on bloody Ruben Ruxkin. And, whilst I'm at it, actually, I'm going to stick the bullet into Lee Grant and all. I tell you what. Some of his substitutions, oh my bloody God, they boiled the urine in my blood when I look out of the ears. I tell you, it was an absolute nightmare watching it. I just don't get it. But something I would like to say, I agree with that David Hattrick, who does the bloody podcast with Stephen Chickney. Suddenly, players letting him down. Alfie May were diabolical. And the aforementioned Josh Feeney were diabolical. Benjamin Wiles, anonymous. There are too many of them. Just don't bloody turn up. That first half, we could have scored 4 or 5 goals if certain players had got their heads out of the hoops and made a pass or bloody had a shot. But, we're Huddersfield Town fans and we're used to it, aren't we? So there's no point me sticking the bullet in anymore. Anyway, I'll see you all next week, lads, up the town.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Do you know what, Killer? I think Malcolm's probably lonely at Christmas. Quite a lot of voice messages from him about the games. I think a couple of things that we'll try and wrap this up because we've been going on for an hour and a half and I think people will be bored of us by now. But there's a couple of different things I wanted to talk about before, because we didn't really get a chance to talk about specifics during the matches, and points that we might have wanted to make. And I think one thing that I found a little bit frustrating, really, one thing I find at the minute is when we win, it's in spite of, and you shouldn't take social media as a snapshot, of what every Huddersfield Town fan thinks. But it's the only window we've got into what people are thinking. So when you look on there, when we win, it's in spite of Lee Grant, who's apparently a tactical novice, etc. When we lose, it's all Lee Grant's fault, and I'm getting a bit bored of it, to be honest. I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. And straight away after we don't beat Lincoln, people are saying Lee Grant out. We just drawn 1-1 against the team that's second in the league, have lost one game at home all season, and that was against Exeter in the 94th minute after pushing men forward to win it. We got it against Exeter as well, which I understand a bit more, because there's maybe a bit more to go out there, because you kind of expect that routine match we got against Northampton in some respects, so I kind of get it a bit more. But I think one thing I wanted to sort of mention is, after the Wigan game, my stance on Lee Grant has always been, I want him to get it right. I don't want him to be sacked. I want him to get it right. Do I think he'll get the time? Probably not, because I think he needs more than maybe what we initially thought. Have I ever been Lee Grant out? No. But after Wigan, I was very much, I couldn't care less either way at that point. After Wigan, has Lee Grant improved his perception to you? I think there are things that he's done since then, which we've mentioned Chris Markham before, and how he's an international standard analyst, and the work he's done for England, etc. That can help. That's obviously helped. But I think there are things that have improved since Wigan. I think things have improved in game. We mentioned earlier leaving a centre back up for what is the second phase at set pieces, which we weren't doing before. I think we're picking moments better as a team, and I think a lot of this might be time with the players, time with the field. I think we're doing things. We were very boom or bust, weren't we, earlier in the season? We'd go at teams for 20 minutes. If we didn't score, we'd combust, wouldn't we? Like Bradford away, like Barnsley away, Blackpool, we did score, but then combusted a different way. I think we were very much, we'd go at teams. If we didn't score, we'd find a way to lose. Whereas now we feel like we're a little bit more in control of games. Not every time, not all the time, but I think there's a little bit more control. I think there are little alterations happening now in game which weren't happening before, such as the shift to Exeter to go to 4-2-3-1. We've not really seen him make any changes like that before half-time. And I don't want this to... I know people are listening, probably don't really want to hear Lee Grant's doing a good job, etc., because the perception is that he's not at the minute, and I'm not going to argue too strongly against it, because I think we were sold a different kind of dream, and I think after the years of misery that we've had since 2019, I think everyone's quite rightly annoyed at everything. But I think recently, there have been green shoots that he can improve. Whether he improves quickly enough for Town's hierarchy, for Town fans, is another thing. But I do think there's been signs of improvement, and I'll be honest, these signs of improvement that he's making, I wanted to be there in September, October. I'll be honest, and I think everyone else did. But is it too late for Lee Grant? Do you think in minds of a lot of people? I think it might be. In mine, not necessarily. But where I'm going with this is, what is he doing better now to have got Huddersfield from 9th? We're unbeaten in 7 games. I think you can kind of say, okay, we've only won 3 of the last 10 or something, which is another way to spin that, isn't it? So it's probably not as amazing as that seems. Is it getting better? Is where I'm going with this. Is he getting better? Because I'm not sure at the minute. I'm not sure if he's... I think he's getting better, but slowly. And I'm not sure it's going to be quick enough, is where I'm going for where the club want us to be.
My problem with Lee Grant previously, Matt, was that he came in talking a big game, talking about how he wanted to play football. And there was a period of time, Matt, where there was a willingness or a lack of any sort of willingness to change that. And even though it was clearly not working, we were trying to do it over and over again. And now players may have changed. We chucked and chopped and changed players willy-nilly. People dropped out of the squad, a bit like Ruben Ruskin, to be fair, on yesterday. But it just there were people that disappeared, right? Such as Marcus McGuane, although of course he's injured. But we had Watmore miss a few games. We've had people drop out of squads for reasons that have been quite surprising. But other than that, everything else stayed the same, and people were getting frustrated that it wasn't working. We had the same press conferences over and over again, where there was, again, textbook style answers that just annoyed Town fans, because I think it felt, especially after Michael Duff last year, that spoke really well, and I think he resonated well with us. Lee Grant doesn't have that, because he talks like a modern football manager does, and this is something we spoke about pre-season, Matt, where if we won games, it would always be fine, but as soon as we had a sticky patch, it was going to start to grate. What I will say about Lee Grant is that willingness or lack of willingness to change, to adapt, has gone. There is, without any doubt now, focus on trying to find something that works. There's shifts in formations that I am pretty sure even Lee Grant himself, if he's being totally honest, would admit that's not necessarily how he would have wanted to play in July and August and September. But we've got to it now. I'm fine with that. He's a rookie manager. He's a new guy. I've got no problem with people trying new things and it not working. I'm unhappy with how the second half went against Exeter. I still think it was an overcorrection on some. But do you know what, Matt? Even if it is an overcorrection, at least it's an attempt of a correction. That's learning. The problem Lee Grant has, for me, Matt, I think he is learning. Will he ever get there? I don't know, but I don't think that's relevant either. He's definitely not going to be removed just now. I think he's been humbled somewhat, and that's why this change has happened. I think everyone's been surprised how where we were in the table prior to the Wigan game and around then. I think people were surprised. And if he had been removed at that point from his job, I don't think any of us would have been surprised, considering other people wrote articles on potentially him going. So I think everyone at that point knew that there was major issues. And if he would have gone, it wouldn't have been too early, or not in most people's minds. My issue, Matt, is it's not what you and me think. I think Huddersfield Town fans and Yorkshire people in general have a real inability in general to change their opinion on something once they've made it. And I think when people spoke about Lee Grant hitting that point of no return, even when you've won a few games, and the fixture list has been kind, and I do think, Matt, it's a mixture of his willingness to change, but also having a soft fixture run. And okay, you have to win those games, but he has done that, and we've done it in decent style. These last couple of games are a little bit of a warning, even though I think Lincoln's positive. Fans are on his back again, and then it's how we react to that if the fans do turn somewhat. Because, like you say, against Exeter at the end, it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't where we kind of were after Northampton. I just think that you've got a big segment now of the fan base that have lost all faith in Lee Grant, and we aren't the type of people in general that are willing to change that mindset unless something extraordinary happens and you go on a 10-match winning streak. But even then, you're going to have a few people, a few dissenters
just
saying,
waiting for him. Yeah,
the individuals are good enough. But I am also of that camp a little bit, Matt, in that I think you could give.
I don't think
Stan Ternent, I think you give Stan Ternent this gig, and we'd probably make top 10, right? And he's in most people's money worst manager we had, right, in recent memory. I'll make Wadsworth, but we've gone over that before, and there's definitely a situation there that might not have been fair for him. But I don't think it takes too much of a managerial masterclass to get Town into the playoffs. I don't. I think getting over that line against teams like Lincoln does. And I think by May, we'll know a lot more about Lee Grant. But even still, it's only going to be 12 months into his managerial career, so you can't really judge him on that either. But again, Matt, it's not what you think. It's not what I think. It's what the 1,300 people that go to Burton in a few weeks. And if the same thing happens that happened last year, the atmosphere is disgusting because of what unfortunately happened up until and including that Wigan game. That's the issue. And I'm not entirely sure whether that'll go without getting promoted this year. I really think for Lee Grant to save his own gig this season, in Town fans, I don't know what Kevin Nagle's plans are. That's not my business, although he does seem quite reactionary when it comes to if fans are against it. He's normally sides with the fans as he's done previously. That might not be that case this time around, but I think he has to get us promoted this season, Matt, because if he doesn't, even if there is improvements in game, because of what's gone on so far, it's going to be seen as a failure by Town fans. And unfortunately, negativeness and negativity, I think is easy to spread. It's easy to spread. It's not being me negative at this point, though. I feel like this is not being negative. I'm trying to step out of this. I think the job he's done since Wigan means he should get till the end of the year and will get to the end of the year. But he's got to continue improving. And at the moment, I do see him trying. And that was the first step towards winning me back on side forever. But I don't know if that's going to be enough for the majority of Town fans or the vocal minority, as Dean Oil likes to suggest. Yeah. I don't know, Matt. Where do you see it? Where do you see on this one?
Do you know we said Lincoln was the acid test, didn't we? I think we can quite rightly change the goalposts on that because I think it's a good point against Lincoln, but I think a lot of people look at that as getting away with one to a certain point. So Stockport now becomes the acid test because Stockport aren't quite as good as Lincoln at the minute. They're good, very good footballing team. Can Town go to Stockport and get something, and can they look good doing it? If we fluke a draw, the goalposts move again because Town fans aren't convinced that this team is going to go on and do it. Do we then beat Bradford, Luton, all these other teams that then come up? I think the problem is that there's no trust from the supporters. Not a massive amount of trust that we'll get this right. I don't think we've got the players to do it. I think mentally, I don't think the players are tough enough. Or some of the players aren't tough enough when we go to Lincoln, when we go to Stockport. I don't think that's all on the manager, so I don't think changing the manager automatically gets this group promoted. I think luck does in the playoffs. We said at the start of the season, didn't we? 5th place, losing the playoff semi-finals. That's what we both had it down as. I think that's on the cards still at the minute, which is really funny because when you look at that, we sort of said 5th place, losing the playoffs, that'd be okay to a point as a starting point. And now we seem like we're on course for it, and we're like, nah, this is crap. So the goalposts are changing all the time, aren't they? I just think when we're bad, we're really bad, and when we're good, it's very, very rare. But I do think there are signs that we are getting better the team is getting better. We're taking the learnings now, Killer. I don't think it's quick enough for this season. I don't see it fitting together. This month is going to be interesting in terms of the January window because I think we need more leaders in the short term or more people with drive. So when you're 1-1 at Lincoln, there's a midfielder who will drive with the ball with purpose and with courage, to drive you up the field, etc. That's not Ledson's style.
Do you think, Matt, this is like a Kevin Kilban kind of guy you want to come in? Somebody who's been there, done it before at a better level.
Basically, it's Lewis Wing. It's Lewis Wing that I want. To be honest, and that's to give a spoiler for the future January window pod that me and Joel Grange will be doing, and you, Killer, if you fancy doing it. But I think we just lack someone like that sometimes. I can see we do it every now and then, but I don't think he's quite there with everything else. So I just think we do, and I think we need another big-ish Bojani striker as well, because Bojan will run on fumes at some point, and I think we could potentially overplay him from now to the end of the season, and by the end of the season he might be a little bit knackered, having not played this many games for quite a while. So I'm looking at the players as much as the manager and thinking, right, what do we need? And could Lee Grant get us promoted? Possibly in the playoffs. In a lot, like I say, I hate the saying that the playoffs are a lottery. I don't think they are. I think over 2 legs, I think generally the best team tends to win, unless it's a penalty shootout, which you can get away with. But I do generally think that Lee Grant could get us promoted, but it would involve a large amount of luck at points in the playoffs to do so. I don't think we'll finish second. I don't think we'll ever be consistent enough. But I don't think changing the manager changes that either. So at the minute, I'm just like, well, unless you can go out and get somebody who's unbelievably proven, like a Neil Warnock type, who's in his prime, for example, which it doesn't exist at the minute, then there's we've got what we've got. But I do see progress with Lee Grant, but like I say, it's not quite quick enough. But I am looking at the squad thinking, do you know what? I don't think this squad is quite as good as what Town fans think it is. I think talent's there, but I just think mentally and physically we do lack sometimes. Sometimes out wide we lack physically. Through the middle, we can. And I just think there are little elements still missing which aren't or weren't obvious initially. So we'll see how it goes. But I do think the Stockport game, just to roll this back to Stockport, I do think if he loses against Stockport, he'll lose fans. He'll lose any fans that have softened over this run. And I think it will get back to toxic levels before the next game after that, or semi-toxic levels. If we win, and we win looking pretty decent, I think there'll be a further softening. So I think this Stockport game is really important for Lee Grant. And again, if we draw, then it'll be Bradford at home, which is the next important one. So we'll have to see how it goes. The next question was: have Town turned a corner? Form, but we kind of covered that form guide. I think we have, but not massively. I don't think we've turned the corner quite how we want. We seem to have got slightly better. We need to get a lot better, don't we, to sort of get promoted from this league this season. I'll be going back over points I've just made, Killer, if I pick that question.
No, it's fine. I think we've gone 3-5-2, right? Which is, again, I don't like that formation. I don't like it. However, for this team that we've got at the moment and for the makeup of it, it's the right way to go. And I feel like it's lifted the floor. I feel like if we'd have stuck with what we were doing before, Matt, it could have been mid-table and lower. I don't think relegation would have ever been on the cards, but the form was shocking. We weren't right. We couldn't get the ball up to, even when Alfie May did play, we couldn't get it up to it. There was nothing going right. It felt like it was failing predictably, and teams knew how to take advantage of us. We've changed that now. We've gone to a system where I think we look more solid. We still concede goals for some reason, more than everybody. Nobody, you only need one shot against us and we seem to concede, and two, you're guaranteed to at least get one. But I feel like we're much more solid in that we'll beat teams now more easily than we would have done with the other system League Grant want to play. So I feel like that is a massive step forward. It's lifted the floor. How much so, Matt, I'm with you, until we've set a marker against a team that has a good game as well. This is a thing. Yeah. Even if you beat a decent team because they're on an off day, I don't want that either. You need a proper battle against a good team, against a Stockport, against a Bradford. I know you don't think they're good, Matt, but you know what I mean. Where they have a decent day, we have a decent day, but we come out on top. I think until that moment happens, I still don't think we can get promoted. That has to happen sharpish, because these next few fixtures, like you say, Matt, they're pretty tricky. They're pretty tricky. Who have we got? We Stockport, Bradford. Is it then we got
Luton at the end, aren't they?
Yeah, we've got Rotherham Cup as well, which is important to go through. I think that's really helped us this season at times. That's another one you want to win and go through at. Luton, toughy. Peterborough, they've suddenly found a bit of form. Thank God, because I was struggling with my pre-season predictions of them doing all right if Kyrell Lisby got a few goals. And to be fair to him, Matt, he's doing all right now. So that one's paid off. I've played the long game there and it seems to be going a little bit better. But I think this month's run of fixtures are a much sterner test. We'll go into them better because of the form we are on. And like you say, Exeter is not a great result. Lincoln's okay. The ones before that are really good. But now we're going into these games where I think we'll know by the end of January exactly where we're at. Better than where we are now. But I'm with you, Matt. I think we need a big guy.
I think we already kind of know, don't we?
I think so. Unless, Matt, you're bringing a couple of centre midfielders. For me, it's bringing in that centre midfielder that's been there, done it before at a higher level. Drops down to this level for a bit of a payday, maybe last kind of big contract.
Zinedine Kilban, yeah.
So you need somebody to come down and just run the show for us a little bit, because I think we're missing that in that midfield, that calm head, Matt, when things go wrong. Alfie May does it a little bit, but I feel like he's a bit hot-headed at the same time. You can see him getting upset with people. He leads with passion, which is fantastic. But then I do think he'll overstep the mark a little bit. I think somebody that everybody could look up to would do us a big favour as long as they stayed fit and didn't hit the town curse. And like you said, a relief for Big Bojan up top, because if he goes down, Dion Charles isn't a guy that steps into those shoes, and Joe Taylor's not to be seen anymore. So I think something else is needed.
Last points is where's Ruben Ruskin? We've played Lyndon Gooch and Lasse Sorensen as left wing backs recently. Last seen Ruben Ruskin against Northampton, and to be honest, he was pretty bad, wasn't he? Against Northampton when he came on, he was really poor. He put the one ball in for Alfie May, who put the chance over, but he was really poor. And then he seems to have dropped out of the matchday squad recently. Maybe a temporary form thing, do you think? I don't think there's anything more sinister about it, really.
Who knows? You are in January, Matt, and if people don't want to be here, if they're not in the team, this is when you want to start trying to move, and this is where issues arise.
I think he does. I think Ruskin does. From interviews before, he loves living here. He lives in Leeds. He loves it. He's got a little daughter, I think. I think they quite like it over there. He's just signed a new contract the last few months, hasn't he, as well? So I think he's happy, but I just think I don't know.
It was there. It was definitely there. It was there on Sunday because I walked past
his
him
form's really sketchy
at the ticket office. Yeah, he's.
I don't think he's a League Grant player either. I think that's another.
He's defensively not the greatest, is he? He's better going forward, but he's not that winger either. But for us in those wing back systems, you have to be flexible and you have to be able. You have to know when you have to get back to fill in and cover. Ruben Ruskin has lots of talents, right? But unfortunately for him, one of them is not knowing when to drop back into position. That's not what he's better at. He's better at going forward. And for this current system, I don't think he fits into it too well. Even Kamashia seems to be doing a better job. Whilst he's never going to be a wing back, Matt, I'm with you on that one. I think he does understand that he needs to defend first sometimes. Whereas Ruben Ruskin, for me, is a little bit more forward thinking. But no,
I think
after the game,
having Mikael Miller back, by the way, would be good.
Yeah, it would. Mikael Miller would be perfect for this team. But then, even when he does come back, how long?
Be good for 4 weeks. Yeah, he's good.
There.
Yeah, good play. Joe Taylor for the Exit. I think the impression I get is if Lee Grant could wheel out Joe Taylor on loan and bring in a Bojan striker on loan, I think that, just judging by the way we're playing at the minute, I think that's the sacrifice they would make. I personally would prefer Dion Charles to go out and Taylor to stay and be that thing. But I think the thing with Taylor is, at the minute, Town are playing like, it's more of a 3-4-2-1, isn't it? Because Alfie May's dropping to the right and dropping deeper. Castledine's a little bit deeper still, so you could still kind of say 3-5-2. But he goes to the left. Joe Taylor doesn't really do that. He just kind of sits up front, sulks, and then puts the ball in the net if you put it on a plate for him. It doesn't work hard enough, I don't think, for this system. And I think that's probably why Dion Charles is still around and Joe Taylor will maybe be sacrificed for a bigger, quicker outlet, I would imagine. I think that might be the way Town would go.
I think so. This system works best, as mentioned previously, when we go man for man across the 11. That's when it's most effective. Dion Charles isn't the greatest at pressing, but he does try. Joe Taylor might try for a few minutes, but then he's not live. That's how I like to refer to it. Alfie May, for example, stays live in every moment. His shot didn't come back off the post because he reckoned it was a keeper save, but he had the intelligence. He had the intelligence, unlike Kosi, to see the ball come back into play, see Leo Castlediine in the middle there and pop it back in. Joe Taylor would never do that in a million years because he gets frustrated in moments. It brings a lot more to his game. It gives him something else in different moments, but he's not always live. And the problem we have with Lee Grant playing this system, like I say, he was screaming at players not pressing properly on Sunday. Joe Taylor will wind Lee Grant up if he's after his strikers pressing in a specific way, because that's not what Joe Taylor does. Joe Taylor's a 4-2-3-1 guy, straight down the middle, but you need fast wingers with him to try and support him and create chances for him that way.
There was a manager that used to talk about players being live all the time, and I can't remember which one it was. Was it Danny Cowley? Have you been listening to Danny Cowley again?
I think
you have, haven't you?
Maybe it's just happened. Maybe I've just assimilated into talking like that. But no, but it is important, and Joe Taylor is the perfect example of a striker that doesn't do that. And because of that, Matt, in a 90-minute game, he's probably only playing for 70 minutes because for 20 minutes of it, he's frustrated about something that hasn't gone his way previously. And with this way Town are playing at the moment,
bit immature. He's an immature striker, isn't he?
Yeah, and Matt, he's a guy to me that needs to go to a team who are overperforming, who he knows is going to get the start every single week, and he'll score loads and loads of goals. But when he's in competition and when he's having to fight for his place and do the running, I don't think he's suited to that at this point in his career. Maybe he'll get there, but for me, at the moment, he's turned off a lot more than he should be, and that really costs him.
I think Northampton would suit him quite a lot.
Yeah.
Someone like Northampton. I know they've not got the pace up there, but they're just a big physical side which would be able to carry him. And it wouldn't. And the reason I say Northampton is because it shouldn't affect the top half, which, Stevenage, someone at Stevenage wanted him. I know it's like, well, you can't send him to Stevenage because you don't want him to get the goals, which could put them in the playoffs and knock us out, So there's only going to be a small number of teams that we would possibly send him to. Maybe Scotland, maybe the SPL. Last point, because we've been going on for 2 hours here. It's a bumper episode. Radinho Balka has just played 6 games in a row for the first time in his Huddersfield Town career. He's been really key, hasn't he, lately? I think he had a really bad dip, didn't he? He had a really poor game against someone just before Christmas, which I'm forgetting. But he's come back stronger again in this. Like I say, it's the first time he's played 6 games since he signed for Town 2 years ago. He played 5 times last season and went off injured in the 5th game. He's finally been through 6 games without an injury. To have him fit and playing as he is at the minute is massive. I think he's quality on that right side of defence. I know he's not the most robust at times. That goal Exeter scored, for example, he could perhaps be a bit physically more demanding. But I think with someone like Murray Wallace and I think with someone like Jack Watmoe as well, I like him. I think he's been good, and I think he has been really important to Town's turnaround as well. So well done to our future World Cup defender, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Why have you said that, Matt? Why did you just say it's the first time he's played 6 games in a row?
Because he'll get injured soon.
That?
It won't be anything I do. It'll be something he does.
You'll go to Aldi's. Somebody once mentioned that he'd probably get injured going there. But no, Matt, the thing that was most surprising about Balka was that it took about 4 months for Lee Grant to bother playing him. Because everyone kind of knew how important he could be because, okay, defensively, he's much better now than what he was. Just like Bojan's been on the beefcake over the summer and looks much stronger, Balka also looks physically better than what he did previously. Maybe it's a drop from the Championship where...
Have you noticed they've stopped trying to rest him as well, like they did with Luton? They've stopped trying to rest him.
This is where we're going. Yeah, last time we rested him against Luton, we looked awful. I think he's the most important cog in the back line. Apart from Murray Wallace at the moment, he's hitting everything. As we spoke about at half-time, Matt, on Sunday, I didn't realise I was interrupting your 10-year wedding anniversary date with Rachel. However...
she wasn't there. She was done.
I know I disappeared as soon as she came back up. She probably doesn't even realise I exist. She thinks I'm a figment of your imagination, Matt. However,
that knobhead who takes up half my time is
that's correct.
I think that's how our other halves think of us.
Yeah, well, I do spend more time with you than I spend with Lucy anyway. But no, with Murray Wallace, he heads the ball now like we thought Joe Lowe would when he came in. We thought Joe Lowe would be this guy. Turns out we've already got Murray Wallace to do it, so we don't particularly need Joe Lowe anymore. Murray Wallace can do it for the moment. But with Balka, there's 2 ways to play the ball forward from the back. And you can play it like Exeter do, which is nice, intricate passing. Joe Lowe can't do that. Murray Wallace can't do that. So we can't do that, right? But what Radinho Balka can do is like Bojan Radulevic's goal. It starts with him just setting off 20 yards, trying to beat a man at the back line. He doesn't have to dribble past anybody, but just that movement forward, just that impetus going forward opens up space for everybody else. I absolutely love Radinho Balka. Not just because I've got last year's signed shirt of his in my garage, as obviously my father-in-law sponsors him, but because he actually is one of the few defenders at this level that makes us better going forward on the ball and creates chances from being a centre-back. That's a rare asset to have. And it's just good that he's not as much of a liability in the back line as he was earlier on in his Town career. And the back 3 does really suit him, doesn't it? I think if you have him in the back 2, even though when we did go 4-4-2 with him, we still looked okay, there was always a little bit of a worry. Whereas with a 3-5-2, he's a lot more solid defensively for me.
Yeah, I think we'll call it there. We've been on for 2 hours. This week, there will be a drive-in episode. Do we still call it the drive-in? I can't remember. It's been that long, I can't remember what we call it. There'll be a drive-in episode. Looking forward to Stockport. I'm going to try and get out a Patreon exclusive Tim Hot Tub Time Machine episode when I can. And I'm going to speak to Joel about getting a podcast together where we'll have a look at the transfer window and maybe come up with some targets that we could possibly sign if we are Huddersfield Town's sporting director. So that's all we've got time for. So Happy New Year, everyone. Remember, sign up for the Patreon, even if it's free. It does help the boys out quite a lot. Maybe make it your New Year's resolution, who knows. But anyway, Killer, 2 hours in, we're tired, the music's playing. Let's end this.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.